Hey, you geezers, grab your pudding. It's time to get geeky. Welcome, everyone, to the Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, H. Boomer. This is my co host, PaPa Pacelli. How is everyone?
I'm doing great. I can't have any pudding because I haven't eaten my meat.
Very funny. It's funny. That's your reference point for that. My reference point was on Fringe, where Dr. Walter Bishop, when he was in the insane asylum, they
Right.
made him eat butterscotch pudding. And he said it was awful. And then they did an episode where he had to visit one of the other mad scientists in there. He had to go back into the asylum to talk to this other mad scientist to get information.
Yeah.
And the other mad scientist guy, he was eating butterscotch pudding when he showed up. So that was like a reference to the first episode.
That is so funny. I happen to
Uh,
like butterscotch pudding.
yeah, it's fine. I'm just he hated it apparently.
Yeah, yeah.
Apparently, James Bond was not a fan of butterscotch either, but don't worry, he's canceled now, so it's all right.
Yeah.
Nothing, not a
Chances are he doesn't
story
get
tonight,
to,
maybe next
to
week.
drink martini anymore either, so whatever.
Welcome to the Geeky Geezers, where the points don't matter. That's right, the points are like a pantsuit to the dude Lebowski. Thank you, thank you, Rosefire, and thank you for always commenting on this on my streams when you listen to them the next day. I appreciate it.
Rosefire is
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
But then
Let's
again,
work
so is
back.
all these people's here.
Yes, everyone who takes the time. Also, deleted scenes. He was on before my stream. You should check out his live stream if you get a chance. After
Yep,
my
yep.
stream, of course. But yeah, go ahead and check it
Yeah,
out.
because it's not like his stream is live anymore anyway. So
Yeah. Greetings and happy Sunday, the chat. What's everyone sipping on? I am sipping on a Mott's 100% apple juice.
wow, wow, that sounds good. I'm having
It's fine.
a diet squirt grapefruit soda.
I'm dealing with a mini fridge situation, so room is sparse. So if I want a juice, I have to get these mini Mott's apple juices. Apparently, they have orange juices in these containers too.
Yeah, I don't care for bottled or pre-prepared orange juice. It's freshly squeezed or nothing.
I think the carton's okay. All right,
Not if you knew
Matanui.
how it was prepared.
I don't want to know how it was prepared.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's some woman with a hairnet
I
and a
mean
cigarette.
technically there
Cigarette
is
ashes falling
orange
into
juice
it.
in there. Technically there is
Ah,
orange juice in there.
I drink Florida Natural. That's a Florida brand. They
Okay.
make it here in my
You think it's
state.
you think it's any better?
You
If
know
it's
what?
not freshly squeezed, it's
It's
not
local.
fresh.
Anyway, hi, Matanui. Hello, Netters Network. Thank you for saying hi, sweetie.
Yep,
Auditor
yep.
Dread, good evening. Yes, I wanted to answer this, but I figured I'd wait till we got in here. Did I get Metroid Prime? Little story there. So I am one of the rare few in this country that has a physical copy of Metroid Prime Remastered.
Wow.
Because Nintendo released it digitally, and then they said a physical copy is coming in a couple weeks. And I heamed and hawed. I said, "Do I really want to buy this right now?" I said, "Nah, just buy it." So I pre-ordered it. Apparently, Nintendo, as usual, decided not to print a lot of copies of this game, and now scalpers are selling this thing on eBay for like $100 when the game was 40. But I did get it from Best Buy. I know some people that ordered from Amazon; they're still waiting for their copy. I ordered it from Best Buy online. It didn't come out day and date for me. I had to wait a couple days before they finally sent it out to me. But I'm even looking online. I'm like, it says we've prepared the label, but the shipper hasn't picked it up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The game came out today. It should
Yeah.
already be on my doorstep. But I did get it, and it is a wonderful game. I do advise anybody to get your hands on it if you have a Switch, whether it be digitally or physically.
Yep.
Physically might be better, but you can't find copies anywhere, so get it any way you can. That's what I would
Right.
suggest to you. But good evening, everyone. Welcome, Chris P.
Chris P, good to see you, my friend.
Listen, I like playing a space bounty hunter and going to an alien planet and shooting up the wildlife. Okay, you know,
Alrighty then.
there's none of this. There's none of this. Oh, you have to save the disgusting alien creatures. No, shoot them all. Okay, just destroy the fauna. It's okay. All right, I think I said hi to Autodread Chris P. And let's see if anybody else showed up. Rose Fire is here. Welcome, welcome. Big Al
Yep.
presents. Not this week, but the following week, he and I and Birdman will be on Soundtracks of Birdman doing a rewatch of Congo. The great.
Congo.
You ever see Congo?
Actually, I'm not sure if I have.
It came out in 1995. It was it was like the first summer blockbuster of '95, and it had a talking gorilla in it
Huh.
through sign language, and then
Sure,
the
sure.
machine would translate her sign language signals. So it was very very funny, and it had Tim Curry was in it, Ernie Hudson, who we'll be talking about later, he was in it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Laura Linney was in it. The guy who was on Nip Tuck, he was in it too. So it was Bruce Campbell's in it briefly.
Huh.
You get to see Bruce Campbell staring at the camera and screaming. I guess before Killer 8,
Alrighty.
disembowels him or whatever happens in the
Oh,
movie.
nice.
It was based on a Michael Crichton novel,
Yeah.
which is probably better than the actual movie that came out, but I still enjoy the movie. Some of these Michael Crichton novels they should redo as maybe like a streaming series. What do you think? Like 6 parts or something. That way they have enough time to tell the whole story.
I mean, I think a lot of, especially now that streaming is a thing, I think like limited series that would be the equivalent of a longer movie would probably be a great way to adapt a lot of literature. Um, I would like to see Timeline redone well because that movie was god awful. I honestly felt like the book Timeline did for like dinosaurs and genetics. What Michael Crichton did for dinosaurs and
For
genetics. I felt like
dinosaurs, yeah.
yeah, like Timeline did for time travel and the medieval period, and
It was
that
better
does
than
not
the
come
movie, I
across
take
in the
it.
movie. Yeah, yeah,
It's funny because I like the
absolutely.
lead. I like the lead actor they have in there. I forget his name, but he's a good actor. He was in that Tin Man series too. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
let me put it to you this way: I took a bunch of friends to see it because I was like, man, this was such a good book. You're gonna love this. At the end of it, I'm like, I am so sorry. The book was so much better, and they're like, yeah, we kind of figured.
That happens all the time. I heard like Dean Koontz books. They typically
Yes.
mess up too when they translate
Yeah.
them. Person I can't
Stephen
stand
King
pudding
too,
either.
mostly.
Chocolate mousse is better than pudding, but I'll take chocolate pudding too. But
Yeah.
mousse is better. I'll agree with that. Deleted scenes got in under the wire. Welcome here.
There you go.
He got some cool. He and I both do. I haven't done a DVD shopping thing in a while, but I did finally buy some Blu-rays because, as you know, I lost DVDs during the flood, and one of the DVD sets I had that I got really messed up and I just didn't keep it was the Twisted Terror collection from Warner Brothers, and it came with 6 movies in it. And I figure, well, since my DVDs got destroyed, maybe I should repurchase these on Blu-ray. And Shout Factory has released fancy editions of some of these movies, and they were finally having a sale for Valentine's Day. Of course they would, because
Cool, cool.
well, they're the Scream Factory branch of Shout Factory, Scream Factory,
Yeah.
the horror branch, and of course they're gonna have a sale around Valentine's Day, right? That makes sense. And I
Sure,
did
My
get some.
Bloody
Like
Valentine.
they actually have released My Bloody Valentine on Blu-ray, the old one. They
There
even
you
released
go.
it uncut, which is
Nice.
rare for an '80s slasher that they were able to repackage it
When they
together with
release
the
a
uncut
slasher
footage.
film uncut, does that mean all the cuts are in it?
Basically, yes. Funny. In more ways than one, yes.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because typically a lot of slasher movies, like unfortunately a lot of those Friday the 13th movies, they, the MPAA say cut this, and they cut them up, and they can't re-release them unrated except for the first one because they lost the footage. But My Bloody
Ooh.
Valentine, they were able to restore it to the way it was supposed to be originally. So, and who
Nice,
knows, maybe they'll be
nice.
able to do that someday with those Friday the 13th sequels. The first Friday the 13th, you can see that uncut. But the
Yeah.
sequels, they
Well, I was
theatrical
watching a
versions. Yeah.
documentary on it, and actually, Critical Drinker had a guest on who was actually in the movie Event Horizon, and there's another one where they cut out a whole bunch of stuff, and the footage is just lost, and it really sucks.
It's a pity because Scream Factory, they did release Event Horizon on Blu-ray, and if they had had access
Oh, sure they
to an
would have.
unrated, they
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
put it on. They would have done it what they'll do is they'll do like a double disc set. They'll give you a theatrical version on one disc, and then they give you the
And it's not like
unrated
there's
version of
anyone
another,
that has a problem with it. It just, we don't have it anymore. There's nothing we can do. So.
I know. What can you do? Yes, the book is better than the film. Well, that's referring to. Looking forward to Congo. I like Congo. I don't know if you've seen Congo or not, Big Al, but that was a big favorite of mine.
And it's Congo.
Congo to Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Ernie Hudson was actually very good in that. He's not the lead, but he's like a supporting character. Yeah. He's really good in it. So was Tim Curry. If you want to see Tim Curry hamming it up on screen, that's the movie. It's just...
Well, if I want to see Tim Curry, hamming it up on screen, I'll watch Rocky Horror. But I hear you.
And this one, he's playing a Romanian like a Romanian treasure hunter that's thought he found the lost city of King Solomon or something. And,
oh, okay.
It's one of these things, and it's just it's good stuff. I bet the book was better, but I should read the book. I should just read the book. I don't know if I have time before the stream, but. And read books while they're uncensored, because who knows what they'll be doing the Crichton next. I'm sorry. That'll be next week's topic.
I just ranted about it
on Friday. Check out Troy's stream on Friday.
And now you're telling me something else that makes me want to do a part 2.
Ian Fleming. They're going after him next. No. There are other writers out there. They've done this or in the process of doing this too. I suspect Agatha Christie they're going to go after. I think it's going to be... I don't know where it stops. Now, to be fair, I don't know if these are just British publishers.
Well, I'm telling you,
I think Roald Dahl and Ian Fleming estate. That's
the modern living writers better start speaking up for their the people that have gone before them who can't speak for themselves anymore because they've departed, because it'll be happening to their stuff too.
In defense, Salman Rushdie did defend Roald Dahl, and
yes, he did,
and he didn't even have a reason to, since Roald Dahl attacked him once. But he says like the guy still should not be censored.
Yeah,
care what you think of him as a human being, he should not be censored. So, all right, but I figure since we have some Lord of the Rings news to discuss, welcome Connie Cleary.
Welcome.
We might do a good old days. Yeah, Dylan Walsh, who I believe is now on Superman and Lois. He's Lois Lane's dad, the general. Anyway, so I figured we'd do a good old days on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
The movies. Which I know for you, you're probably thinking, what do you mean good old days? Those movies just came out, right?
Well, I mean, it's depressing, but more and more I'm starting to find that the remakes of remakes and the whatnot are actually turning out to be a lot older than I thought. I'm like, oh my gosh, because when you say, Lord of the Rings, I think of, the cartoons that they did, the Hobbit, which was Rankin and Bass.
Rankin and Bass.
Wasn't it Bashki that did the Return of the King and
Bashki did Rankin Bass also did a Return of the King animated feature, and then Ralph Bashki did, this was I think before the Return of the King animated feature came out, he did like the first half of the book story.
Two Tower type of
it was like Fellowship and the first half of the Two Towers. Yeah. I think he had the rights, and this goes to, I think this is modern discussions right now. Even back then, someone had TV rights, someone had movie rights. This is why you were able to get a Rankin Bass Return of the King, because it was a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, so much of this has to do with these ridiculous contracts that divided the proverbial baby. And that's why we find ourselves in the situation we do. The biggest one was all the talk that we've been doing for years over Disney's acquisition of Marvel, and how the Marvel rights were divided up all over the place. And to this day, Disney hasn't yet been able to get it all under one roof. And if things don't change, they won't be remaining under one roof anyway. So
well, maybe that's a good thing.
Sometimes when you're playing Yahtzee, and I actually mean Yahtzee, the dice game, where you pour out the dice. Sometimes when it's just that bad, you just scoop up all the dice and re-roll.
I mean, I'll say this: Fox had X-Men all that time, and I know people are wanting them to become part of the MCU. But I'm saying, Fox gave us duds like X-Men Origins Wolverine, and they
Yeah.
gave us some great ones like Deadpool. So
Yeah, yeah.
it was always mixed over there with their X-Men properties, and that's better than what. And Disney now seems to be just giving us a stream of crap. But we'll talk about that
We'll
later.
get into
Let's
that a
talk.
little bit later.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies. Do you remember when these were announced when they were coming out? I remember this.
I
Mhm.
absolutely do.
Yeah,
So that same group of friends that I said that I took to see
timeline.
Timeline, um, my buddy Chris told all of us, "Hey, we got to go see these movies when they come out." He that's my Dungeons and Dragons group, right? My
Right.
Wednesday night group. And we had just gotten done doing this really epic, homebrew campaign that took our characters from like level 1 through level 20, and it was this big thing, and we had to go find the MacGuffin and then find the other MacGuffin and keep it away from the evil bads, and it was all to prevent this other evil bad from taking over the world and blah blah blah.
Sure,
blah.
sure.
And he says you gotta see, if you haven't seen these cartoons, you haven't read these books, you gotta see these movies, because a lot of the inspiration for this adventure came from it. Well, sure enough, we go to see it, and we're like, holy crap, you just stole it outright. I mean, we literally just played this. And he's like, well, yeah, I changed the names, and instead of a ring, it was an orb, and it was a whatever. But I'm like, yeah, but pretty basically, we just played this adventure.
I seem to recall there was a Conan novel written a year before The Hobbit where Conan was after some kind of object or taking some object from the bad guys too.
Yeah,
It's a fantasy trope. It's not. I mean, Tolkien
it
probably.
is.
I'm not saying Tolkien ripped off Howard. He may not have even read that.
But in a way, it really does speak to how much. I mean, you can sit and point the finger and say you ripped off this, you ripped off that, but the reality is, when are you directly ripping off someone else, and when are you both being inspired by the same source material? So when you look at the mythology of Middle Earth that Tolkien put together, you realize that it's based on folklore, real folklore, and he knew his stuff.
He did, yeah.
So that's why he was so meticulous about it. He's like, I have my understanding of this folklore. I'm trying to be as true to it as possible, and that's this is what it is, And so then when I look at Dungeons and Dragons, people would say, well, this is taken directly from Tolkien. Yeah, so and Tolkien took it from, this other folklore, and he just codified it in a way that makes it perfect for Gary Gygax to come along and make a, fantasy role-playing game out of that pretty much, became the zeitgeist for a generation. And then this movie comes out, and I'm like, okay, I see it all come around full circle. I dig it,
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big fan of the Icelandic sagas, and like his trolls in the Lord of the Rings and stuff. They're taken right out of like Icelandic Norse mythology.
Yep.
And of course, other stuff came from, I guess, Old English mythology too. So it's
even down to the thing about the trolls
turning
when
to
the
stone.
sun comes up.
Yeah, that's from that's from mythology. Yeah.
There's a Norwegian. I don't know if it's Norwegian or Swedish or some Scandinavian country did a film called Troll or Trolls or something like that. Really, really good. Same kind of thing. You got these people that go out to hunt the trolls, and they've got these big UV lamps that they shoot them with and turn them to stone. Yeah. It's really, really cool. But Rosefire says, I cannot fathom the labor and research that went into the aesthetics of the Lord of the Rings films. The language, the distinct costumes, written dialects, the atmosphere of each location. Let me tell you something. That comes back to exactly what I was talking about. The intention that Tolkien had, and the respect that Peter Jackson had, that he put in the effort. Something tells me Peter Jackson doesn't, like speak Elvish, but he probably reached out to people that do, that dug into that language and totally knew it to make sure everything was legit.
He was the right director at the right time for that project. I remember reading Lord of the Rings in high school, and I'm thinking they can never make a movie out of this. They'll mess it up. I was even thinking maybe they could try doing an animated feature, but Hollywood doesn't like to do like movies for adults that are animated.
Right.
So, and then they finally announced Lord of the Rings was coming out, and I remember seeing the teaser for it on the big screen because I was just going to the movies. And I saw the teaser, and I think I was aware they were doing Lord of the Rings movies, but I didn't know. And then I saw the first teaser. It was such a simple teaser. It did a shortened version of the poem, one ring to find them, and in the darkness find them.
Yeah.
And then you see just the first glimpse of Frodo and the Fellowship walking over the mountains, and then it says, and then you see Fellowship of the Ring 2001, Two Towers 2002, Return of the King 2003. I was excited.
That's the way to do it. When you're planning 3 films and you're going to film them all together, you let people know when it's coming because the whole kit and caboodle, But I do remember, like David Pensack is saying, that I remember a lot of fans seeing it and being really upset about, even though it was a longer film than your average.
Yeah, 3 hours.
There still wasn't. There was this scene that wasn't there. There was that scene that wasn't there.
Well,
only to find out later on that all of that stuff had been filmed, and then we get it all on the special DVDs,
Yeah, and to be fair, Peter Jackson even says on the special DVD, he says, look, I'm sorry we didn't have time to do the thing with Tom Bombadil and the Barrow-Whites, but there's nothing to say those events still didn't happen within the context of the movie. Maybe they're just scenes that we just didn't see.
Right.
And he also made a point, though, that, those extended editions came out. The first extended edition, I didn't buy the DVD when it came out, even though I was kind of I love DVDs. I was big on DVD at this point, but I waited because I knew there was an extended cut coming out, and I actually give Warner Brothers points for warning me and letting me know so I could wait. And I actually bought the full gift set with the little Weta model in it too, which I don't normally do, but I got those huge 2 stone statues of the old kings that they passed. So I got those with it, and I got that. And it's funny because my parents hadn't seen Fellowship in the theater. I did because it was an amazing experience. But they were finally up on it, that they were at least curious. So I showed them Fellowship of the Ring, the extended edition. Then they had time to watch that, and they went. And we all went to see the Two Towers next. So even they got into it. This really did become mainstream. Think of it. Back then, heroic fantasy, I'm sorry, it had failed ever to really break into mainstream popular culture. Remember?
Yeah.
Even with Willow, Lucas tried it, but it never fully became mainstream. I think until
here's
Lord of
a
the Rings
huge
came
difference.
out. Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, like so many other things, right? It already had a very strong, very supportive fan base, right? Mm-hmm. So when this comes out and they're all fired up about it, right? They start bringing their friends to it, recommending it to people. Other people start seeing it, becomes really popular, word of mouth. These things kind of spiral out. This is why I'm always saying, with all of our favorite franchises, never piss off the fans. They are your cornerstone. You build on them. You don't blow them the frack away and then try to start over from scratch.
Yeah, no, they did the exact opposite with this trilogy. As I'd read the books, and I remember, especially Fellowship, when they're in the Shire, I had a specific view of what the Shire was like, and I figure they're not going to make it look like it looked in my head.
Yeah.
And then Peter Jackson does make it look like it looked in my head. It's like, he was smart and made it broad daylight with blue skies instead of making it even overcast. Because I thought what was terrifying about the Nazgul, the ring wraiths, when they're in the beginning of the Fellowship, is they're riding out in full daylight after Frodo. They're not. I mean, yes, they kind of remind you of creatures of the night, but they don't care if it's night. They're going to come after you any time of day. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made them, in some ways, scarier. And I thought that was done to great effect. I mean, they changed a couple little things here and there, but I nothing that I was offended by. Like, I think it might have been Legolas or another elf that rescues Frodo. Instead, it was Arwen who does it instead. But it's fine. And they cast Liv Tyler as Arwen. Good casting there. She looks like an elf, so that's good.
Yeah, she
in
definitely
a
has
good
those
way, you know
features.
what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
she
But
definitely has those features. Rosefire says, I got a cool book discussing Wagner's Ring opera, and you realize that the German National
yes,
Socialist Workers'
yeah,
Party
yeah,
took from it, and how Tolkien redeemed the ring cycle in Lord of the Rings. No one gets the ring, supreme power is destroyed. Yeah.
yeah. Because everyone thinks, oh, if I'm the one who has the power, instead of
Yeah.
realizing, no, the power is just going to corrupt you.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
notice that it's the most wise people in uh, Lord of the Rings that realizes that. That's why, first it's what's the wizard's name?
Gandalf.
Gandalf. Gandalf is the first one. No, 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 no. I
He knows
can't.
he can't be the one to take it.
And then when it's suggested that Gladriel take it, and she has her moment of that horrifying moment. She's like, "Oh, no, no, no! This would not be good."
I think Aragon could have, because there's that scene where Frodo, when he says, "I would have followed you to the end," when he's
Yeah,
breaking off. Because Aragon, I think that's basically saying that no, of course, Aragon had other things to do besides, because there was but
yeah,
I, I remember though that scene where they're all having the arguing, all the elves and the dwarves and the
yeah,
humans, and they're having the argument what to do with the ring and everything's, and then Frodo's looking at the ring and you see the fires, and then Frodo says, "I'll take it." And he doesn't want to. He just wants to go back to the Shire, but
but he
it
also
has to.
realizes
Yes,
no one else can. This is a
yes,
bad situation.
and
Look, I think there comes a point where I think every hero,
yeah,
okay, and what we are always talking about the hero's journey, right?
yeah,
The real hero never wants to be the hero. He
no,
never seeks to be the hero. He wants to go home, be safe, be with his family. But there comes a point where the hero realizes, if I don't do this, I will have no home and family to go
yeah.
home to.
It's like
And no one else will either.
I mean, I'm reminded of Star Trek 3 when Captain Kirk says, "I have to go and get Spock's body back," and he knows there's going to be consequences over it, remember?
Yeah.
But he knows it's just something he has to do, otherwise his
See, and
friends
there's
will be
there's
ruined.
the
Yeah,
other side of a hero,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That is because Kirk even says these exact words, I've already done my bit for king and country, you
yeah,
know?
hmm
But now you got to do something for the friend that literally gave up his life for you, that, has been there helping you all these years. You have no business, enjoying your retirement and leaving him out there. You leave no man behind.
yeah. Council Elmerson is what we're referencing. Yes, and it's funny if you watch the special features, they talk about the book version of it, and the one guy says, in the book, it's like a badly run committee meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember reading the book, and I thought it was interesting because the book was basically just saying, "Oh, by the way, Gollum got free." Like in the middle of the meeting, he's like, "Well, how did that happen?" Like they're
Yeah.
saying, "Well, we had some," and it's just it's like everything keeps getting worse. But I liked how they did in the movie. I'm not picking on the book version either. It's fine. But
I heard a little side note related to Gollum. I was just listening to Valiant Renegade. He's got WDW Pro on, and they were talking about all of this modern day book burning and changing things and deciding that some people saying that certain people in Lord of the Rings should have different pronouns and this and that. And Valiant Renegade made some joke about Gollum being they them, and
literally, yeah.
yeah, and that's when WDW Pro said that is the only example where I think an individual deserves the they them pronoun, and that would be Gollum, because he literally is multiple people.
Yeah, I want to touch on Gollum before we wrap this up. There's so much we could say about the Lord of the Rings movies. Check them out if you haven't. Extended editions
Absolutely.
are better. Theatrical versions are good, but I would recommend the extended versions if you can get your hands on them. But Gollum, that was a fully CG character, and I think fairly well realized for the time. In fact, that was the first time. Was that the first time we saw motion acting with an actor, and then they painted over him with the CG? Andy
That's a good
Serkis.
question.
Yeah,
It's the first time I became aware of it.
yeah.
I don't know if it's the first time it was ever done, but Yeah.
What I
Could be.
thought was great about the portrayal of Gollum and Smeagol, I guess that would be, if we
Right.
explain the two personalities,
Right.
is that they're both evil.
Kinda.
You
Yeah.
know, when they're talking to each other, you realize, well, the one who we think is all right and likes Master Fred, no, he's still bad.
Yeah.
It's like Norman Bates and his mother. They're both personalities are bad. But I did want to
But
touch.
one is sympathetic. That's the difference. He was bad because he was corrupted by temptation. But you realize we've already seen the peak where Gandalf and Galadriel both could just as easily go down that route.
Yeah,
You know that they're pretty good people to start out with, but they could be tempted, and they know they could be tempted. And it's just that Smeagol fell to that temptation.
yeah. Tolkien also condemns the funeral pyres revered in Wagner. Denethor nearly burns himself in a sign of line, but is loathed for his cowardice and obsession with death.
Yeah.
Yeah, the steward of Gondor. I remember talking to a classmate about him, and she said he was loopy. You know? Just
Yeah.
which But in fact, the actor who played Dr. Walter Bishop played him in that movie. But I thought Gollum is just one dude that got cursed to be like that or something. It's because he held on to the ring for too long. Bilbo probably would have ended up in a similar way had he done it.
Well, and there's been a lot of talk, even within the narrative, about the ring having a degree of consciousness, and it is a tempter, and it tries to corrupt you with its power. But the different individuals you see have are corrupted in different ways, and there's a reason specifically that Frodo is best suited to take the thing. Why? Because there is nothing that he wants, right? You saw Galadriel talk about what she would want, and she wants power, and she wants beauty, and she's at least a good enough person to know that is my temptation, and I can't be anywhere near this ring because I'll go down that path. Gandalf, we don't know specifically what he would do with the ring. He doesn't say, but he recognizes similar failings in himself. We saw it with, was it Boromir?
Yeah.
When Boromir tries to take it, there's an example of someone who really does want to be the hero. So that was his temptation. I want to be the hero. So he takes the ring.
Yeah, he tries to take it.
Well, he does. And thankfully, the true hero in him wins out, realizing, okay, I've screwed up so badly, I'm going to have to sacrifice myself to fix this.
He dies in a horrible way too. He gets riddled with arrows. That's like one of the worst ways to go, I
but
think.
He calls it down on himself, right?
Yeah.
To save the rest of the party, which is heroic, but when it's heroism to fix what you screwed up yourself, that kind of does mitigate it. Well, Frodo, my point was, though, that Frodo, all he wanted was to go home. And that is a trait of the hobbits, right? You could also imply that it's kind of why, for so long, Bilbo was okay having it and not doing anything with it.
Well, it's But
then when it came time for him to give it up, he didn't want to, and he wanted to continue wandering. Why? Because he was the unique one. He's the one who wanted to wander.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to use it to continue wandering, and that's when Gandalf says, you can't do that. And he's like, okay. Frodo, what? He just wanted to go home. You gotta figure that Smeagol probably was very similar. He wouldn't have taken this ring and built all kinds of power and raised an army or gone traveling and whatever. He just wanted to keep the thing. And all it did was just eat him up and eat him up and eat him up.
Yeah, but he did kill his friend over it.
Yes, because he wanted it. And if people left him alone, he never would have done anything to anybody. It was just, and then when Bilbo shows up, he's just prey, and he's trying to take the precious, so I'm going to kill him too. It's the different temptations of different, what is this? Character's personal desire. Yeah.
The ring corrupts each person differently according to their character and personal desires. That's
because
brilliant.
Isn't that what temptation is?
Yes, and it's also like our dark side. We all have a dark side that would manifest itself differently.
Yeah.
In fact, that was one of the things. I had some issues with American Horror over the years, but I always liked the first season with all the ghosts of the people. That I always felt like the ghosts of the people in that horrible house, they were made up like their dark side, like the dark version of themselves were stuck there instead of that's why they were all seemed off, all the ghosts.
Yep.
All right, but now it's time for the first news story of the night. We could talk about the movies. Just check out those Jackson films. They're worth seeing. Maybe we'll touch on them again someday.
Yep. Let me drop this link real quick. There we go. New Lord of the Rings movies set at Warner Brothers. This was broken by the recent Warner Brothers earnings call that I heard live over on Valiant Renegade.
Yes, and you can post his links as well, but I'll read from the first article.
Well, this isn't the earnings call. This is Valiant Renegade kind of doing a breakdown of this specifically, but yeah, go with it.
Yeah, and those are the things too. Valiant Renegade. There you go. So you can check out his link too. I was watching it before the stream tonight. Mm-hmm. Nerd Cookies has a video on it as well.
Yeah, Nerd Cookies. Whereas Valiant Renegade talks about it from the investment and business point of view, Nerd Cookies comes at it from the lore point of view. She basically covers some of the same ground we are here, bringing you the news, but she's in the fandom with us. She's been burned so many times that she's like very concerned.
Yeah. So I'll read the article, then we'll comment on it. We'll mention their streams too. So Warner Brothers Pictures is revamping the Lord of the Rings film franchise. On a Thursday earnings call, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav announced that newly installed studio leaders Mike DeLuca and Pan Abdi have brokered a deal to make multiple films based on the beloved J.R.R. Tolkien books. The projects will be developed through WB label New Line Cinema. The first Lord of the Rings trilogy, helmed by Peter Jackson, grossed nearly $3 billion worldwide. Jackson's follow-up trilogy, based on Tolkien's The Hobbit, matched those grosses. No filmmakers have been attached to the projects as yet, but in a statement to Variety, Jackson and his main Lord of the Rings collaboration, Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens, said Warner Brothers and Embracer have kept us in the loop every step of the way. We look forward to speaking with them further to hear their vision for the franchise moving forward, Jackson, Walsh, and Boyens said. Free Mode, a division of Embracer Group, made the adaptive rights deal for books including The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. The pact will be billed under the name Middle-earth Enterprises. Notably, DeLuca and Abdi left MGM last year to take the helm of Warner Brothers. The exit followed the acquisition of MGM by Amazon. The tech giant owns the TV rights to Lord of the Rings and produced a single season of the television at the gut-busting price of over $450 million in 2022. That's a staggering amount of money. I mean, I know it's a television series, and they might be a little more than a movie, but even still, that's a horrifying amount of money.
Looks like I accidentally combined two messages there. I was giving a shout out to my wife, and I dropped the link right in the middle of it.
What? Well, I haven't seen it yet. Anyway.
Yeah, no, right there. It says it begins and ends with a message I was sending to Netter.
I love you too.
Netter Network. Yeah, but in the middle, I dropped the...
Okay, well, love is a good thing. It's all right. Okay, so...
Netter's over here laughing about it.
Anyways, following our... Anyways,
I don't know why you keep me around, man. You should just fire my ass.
Just do this myself.
Get deleted scenes in here. You'd be much better at this.
Well, I don't know. I might, like I said, I have to go over with him, but maybe I'll be joining deleted scenes on one of his Sunday nights things before my own stream. But check out his channel because he'll be doing streams.
He's not a lush like me either, so that could be.
Following our recent, well, it's funny. I remembered Friday night you were like, "Hey, Boomer, you were going to tell us all about Eliza Blue," and I said, "No, I'm going to talk about Gamergate. I don't know much about Eliza Blue, but I'm like, you know what? I watched the Candace Owens thing on it, so I'll say what I learned from that, and maybe that would be enough.
And that was just fine. That worked out perfectly.
All right. Following our recent acquisition of Middle-earth Enterprises, we're thrilled to embark on this new collaborative journey with New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers Pictures, bringing the incomparable world of J.R.R. Tolkien back to the big screen in new and exciting ways, said Lee Gunkard, CEO of Free Mode. We understand how cherished these works are, and working together with our partners at New Line Cinema, Warner Brothers Pictures, we plan to honor the past, look to the future, and adhere to the strongest level of quality and production values. DeLuca and Abdi recently recalled that New Line had previously took an unprecedented leap of faith to realize incredible stories, characters of Lord of the Rings on the big screen. But for all the vast scope and detail lovingly packed into the two trilogies, the vast, complex, dazzling universe dreamed up by J.R. Tolkien remains largely unexplored. Inaugural projects and timelines were not immediately disclosed. The first Jackson trilogy starred Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, Liv Tyler, Viggo Mortensen, Sean Astin, and Cate Blanchett. That trio of films was nominated for 30 Academy Awards and took home 17 trophies, including Best Picture for 2003's Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. I was kind of hoping for Seabiscuit that year. Crickets. Okay. Let's go on.
Well, here's what's interesting, right? There's a reason that I did the thumbnail the way I did. I specifically called this little segment "War for the Ring," right? Because this is very clearly the gauntlet being thrown down against that Rings of Power.
Okay, they've already won, but
oh yeah, pretty much. Now,
and that's not even saying that what they'll make is going to be good, but it'll be better than whatever Amazon is spewing out right now.
Well, and that's kind of some of what Nerd Cookies gets into a little bit. My understanding is now. First, let's be very clear. If you're hearing anything out there about them totally remaking Lord of the Rings or redoing those movies, I have not heard that from any credible source. That is probably some people misreading something or purposely making up crap, right? My understanding is, and I can't cite my source on this. I may have actually gotten it wrong. But I heard they had Miranda Otto coming back to play Éowyn. And it's going to be one of those things where she's in, the future of, because they're not going to de-age her or anything, but she's telling a story going back,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Bilbo in a way,
We, the fans, have been burned by Rings of Power, so have little reason to trust future films or shows of this franchise. I understand what you're saying, Rosefire, but keep in mind that the Amazon Lord of the Rings has nothing to do with the New Line Cinema Lord of the Rings movies. Yeah. This was a separate project. It's kind of like how I was saying earlier, how you had the Rankin Bass Hobbit and Return of the King movie made for TV movies, then you had the Ralph Bakshi version.
Right.
These are not tied to each other. Now, in your defense, I will say there's nothing to say that these also may not be train wrecks. I don't know. For starters,
I do feel, though, that there is a lot of reason to be optimistic. It does sound like they're pulling in Peter Jackson and some of the other people that he worked with. They are definitely trying to, just the same kinds of things that I was saying about Peter Jackson being that kind of guy that put in the effort. Right, to make sure that the lore was right. Well, the fact that they're pulling him in implies that that's what they want, right?
Yeah, and perhaps this will be okay. I had problems with the Hobbit. Why do we like calling them prequels? Because the Hobbit was never a prequel. It was the first book that was the told.
Well, it seems like a prequel when it's put out after the trilogy.
And they were also really tying it to Lord of the Rings, and they, instead of just making it its own thing, and they were bringing in stuff from the Unfinished Tales, I think, into it. Or I'm not a Tolkien expert. I've read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and I know some Amazon point when the Embracer Group made their announcement that they have the rights to Lord of the Rings and they're going to blah blah blah, and they're the ones actually working with New Line on this Embracer Group. So
yeah,
it's very confusing. In fact, there was some article, maybe I'll bring it up next week, where they explain the complicated who owns what to Lord of the Rings. Apparently Amazon.
And I would just encourage anyone, but look, I mean, I think Rosefire's concerns, Rosefire, I'd really recommend you listen to Nerd Cookie's video that I dropped.
She's concerned too.
She has her very similar concerns that you do. But I think it all comes down to the same concerns we all have about everything. We all roll our eyes at this point and go, oh, crap, here goes another one, right? But we just got to do a wait and see, We wait and see. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Uh, but wait until after it comes out. See what the commenters that you respect say about it when they do their reviews, and then go from there. If it turns out, you know, that a lot of people say, nope, yep, this is every bit as good as what Peter Jackson did before, maybe go check it out then.
Well,
But
well,
yeah, don't hold your breath and be prepared to just pretend it doesn't happen.
Well, here's my main point of concern. I remember the idiot showrunners for the Rings of Power show, like, and they said, "Oh, it's okay if they own this because there's no shortage of stories with Tolkien." And I'm like, "No, they're really just two, The Hobbit
Yeah.
and Lord of the Rings." And I know there's the some Silmarillion
Yeah,
or
if you take into account the unfinished tales and the
stuff that he never
Silmarillion
had published while he was
and
alive because he
all of
probably
that
felt they weren't
stuff,
finished.
there is the implication of this huge amount of lore. But here's the problem with that: you could make the same argument about Dune, and then you look at the books that were written by Frank Herbert's son after he died, and you go, yeah, these books probably shouldn't have ever actually been done.
Yeah.
You know.
So I don't I I'm at the point where I don't know about this. For instance, I know there was an actual it's a Japanese anime production, but an American script that New Line was doing. We talked about that a while ago, right?
Right.
There is a feature, an animated feature coming out from New Line, and you and I had suspected at the time that this was so New Line and WarnerMedia could just throw something up on the big screen to say, "Hey, we're still retaining our movie rights to Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings, so don't snatch them away from us because we don't want those going to Amazon or anybody else." And now apparently now they're going to be making more features, and I'm like, well, this is fine. Is one of the movies going to be about how Samwise Gamgee invents cricket and teaches it to his son? It'll be a cricket movie set in Middle Earth. Like, I don't know what they're planning to do. It's
Yeah.
like, and maybe there's a lot of different stories that you could make into shorter features, like this upcoming anime one. And you might actually be able to make some decent movies.
And you're right. It does
I don't
concern
know.
me that just trying to find another story to keep it going might not be, the best way to go about it. I mean,
I don't want them to do another big Lord of the Rings epic story. That's what they tried turning The Hobbit into. But if they want to
right.
take stuff from Tolkien's lore and do maybe shorter movies and just make them good
Right.
adventure stories, maybe I could see it working. I don't know. This could also, I don't know if this is going to be good or a disaster, but I do like the fact that it throws some dirt in Amazon's eye. I mean, I can at least say
Yes,
that.
that I think we can agree on. It is definitely a shot across the bow, and the fans. I think that alone has the fans encouraged. If they do this well, this could be huge. But I'm going to say the same thing I say about every project that gets greenlit that I'm hopeful for. Don't fuck it up.
Yes. Seabiscuit? Question mark? Question mark. There is a yes. I like that movie, and there's a terrifying scene in it featuring a John Deere tractor, as my visage, is on a John Deere, where the music is getting all sinister, and like the jockey is trying to break in this horse for this, the Tom Maguire character, the jockey's trying to break in this other horse that isn't Seabiscuit, and you see someone messing around with the John Deere tractor, and it makes a huge pop, bang, and then the horse gets spooked, and then he breaks his leg as he gets dragged by the horse. It's amazing that he survived that, and
Yeah.
it's a good movie. But we're not here to talk about Seabiscuit, are we?
Not unless there's something new coming out about Seabiscuit.
Like a Seabiscuit expanded universe, maybe. I could see that.
Oh God,
No,
why?
okay. I own the extended editions of Lord of the Rings, but I'm wondering if the Hobbit films are now, in retrospect, better now with the Amazon show in comparison. I'm sure they are.
Yeah, good point.
And I am going to say one thing in defense of Peter Jackson. They didn't give him enough time to prep the Hobbit trilogy because, unfortunately, he had to Guillermo del Toro's prep time because he was doing his own trilogy originally, but then MGM wouldn't get sold and they couldn't do the Hobbit movie, so then he quit the project. They didn't give Peter Jackson that time back. So he didn't get the proper prep time he had with Lord of the Rings. So they may have ended up being better than they were had he had what he needed.
Yeah.
So that was
I
pseudo interference.
still agree with you. I think that The Hobbit should have been one movie.
I
It
keep
should have just
hoping
been
one day
one movie.
they'll just edit it into one movie
I've got a fan edit of it. If you're interested,
and take
I can
out
hook
that
you up.
stupid stuff with the Arkenstone, which I don't
Yep.
even think was in the book.
Yeah. No, I could hook you up if you're interested. Yeah.
Let's go to Ant-Man.
Okay, I got to split this up because they just have these run on.
This is MSN. I expect this from Bounding the Comics, not
Yeah, right.
an important national website. But
So
hello,
here
Mr.
we go.
Matchstick.
Hey,
Welcome.
Mr. Matchstick.
Ant-Man and the Wasp 3 just tied Eternals as worst reviewed worst reviewed movie in the MCU.
There will be a follow up to this. This was from earlier in the week, but yeah, take it away.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is arguably the most anticipated Marvel movie of the year, thanks to Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror, the Marvel Cinematic Universe's new big bad, ahead of 2 Avengers movies in 2025 and 2026. But the sequel is already getting the worst MCU reviews since Chloe Zhao's Eternals. The movie sees Paul Rudd, Scott Lang, jump into the quantum realm with his daughter, Cassie Lang, Catherine Newton, as they get involved in a revolution against Kang. I want to interrupt just for a sec. I don't want to go off on a little tangent here. Catherine Newton, they replaced the actress that played his teenage daughter, right? There was a different actress playing her in Endgame. I saw a news article where they're like, the prior actress doesn't know what she's going to do now that she wasn't cast or something as Ant-Man. And they used like the worst possible picture they could find of her. And they have an airbrush picture of the new actress. And I thought that was really sleazy.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the other actress that played her. She's a pretty young woman too. But you picked the worst shot.
Yeah.
It's like it's muckraking. It's why I hate the media so much. Anyway, rant over. But even Major's time-traveling villain can't save Quantumania from a slew of negative reviews, making it the second MCU movie to be baited rotten on Rotten Tomatoes with a 47% critic score as of Monday morning. That means the movie has now tied Eternals as the worst reviewed movie in the MCU. Eternals also has a 47% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes and audience score of 77%. Insider's own reviewer calls the movie as fun but clunky, pointing out that the script struggles to keep things flowing in a way that doesn't give the audience whiplash. Insider, however, praised Majors for being an intimidating presence as Kang and giving the movie a genuine sense of gravitas. How are the other actors in it? That's what I'm thinking. I'm sure maybe he was great, but I'm not hearing anybody praise anybody else in this movie. Okay. Meanwhile, the Washington Post says the charm of the Ant-Man franchise has worn off in the third film. And Hornaday wrote, the endearing sweetness of an early Ant-Man movies, which tap Rudd's ineffable charm, has been big-footed into a noisy smash-and-grab extravaganza that, for all its self-conscious bigness, feels smaller and less ambitious than its predecessor. It's never over, but it could be better. What I liked about the old Ant-Man movies was that they were smaller films. They weren't these big, grand, we have to save the universe storylines, right?
And think about it.
Yeah.
It's about Ant-Man, about a guy who shrinks down. You better believe it should be a smaller film.
I get you. But not every superhero story. It's
I'm
like Marvel
partly
thinks every
joking.
movie has... Yeah, but it's like Marvel now, every movie has to be about the end of the universe, and they have to stop the end of the universe.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
The stakes
I'm
are
only
always...
partly joking, because that is... just like you don't want to see, I don't know, Luke Cage, in fighting Thanos, right?
No!
You want to see him on the streets of New York,
protecting his neighborhood and stuff like that.
Exactly.
There's worth in protecting, your neighbors and your friends and your, neighborhood. It doesn't always have to be the big. And to be fair, they got that even on Superman and Justice League. It wasn't always about Superman fighting the big bad. Sometimes it was about fighting local criminals. It was never always. And now that seems to be Marvel is stuck on this all the time now. But okay, he said Quantumania is somehow heavy without feeling substantial, almost desperate in its dourness, even scattered without occasional wisecracks. It makes Eternals feel positively breezy by comparison. I suspect this is worse than the Eternals.
Yeah.
This is my opinion of this.
I think there's a lot of people that have some very negative reactions to Commie Mania. Just saying.
Yeah. And the San Francisco Chronicles of the film wastes its cast and doesn't excel in any of the genres that it finds itself categorized in. Think about the cast. You have Michael Douglas, Bill Murray, Michelle Pfeiffer, who were A-list actors back when we were growing up. Remember?
Right.
They were leads in movies, and now they're an Ant-Man, Quantumania. Just critic Mick LaSalle said Ant-Man isn't an example of a bad comedy. It's bad drama, bad science fiction, a waste of everyone in it, including Evangeline Lilly and Michael Douglas. All this doesn't necessarily mean that the audience won't enjoy Quantumania, but it could be an indication of how fans will receive the movie. Let's go to the next one. Do you have any more thoughts on this? I think it leads into the next one.
No. I think that this is the good follow-up, and I did take some liberties with the title on this one. For one thing, it's way too damn long, and secondly, wanted to make a couple of puns.
I'm sad that no one has managed to follow up an Iron Man type movie with another good Iron Man movie. I have to say, I felt the same way about Captain America. Like, we had the Winter Soldier, and then we went into Civil War, which was basically just another Avengers movie. We never got any more solo Captain America movies.
Yep.
It's just. All right, so it's a bear market. Quantumania worst drop for MCU title, replaced for first place by Cocaine Bear. It did get replaced for first place.
It did.
I
did.
I misread this.
I was not. I put that in the thumbnail. I got the bear literally taking a dump on Ant-Man's head,
What the heck?
and I even added the cocaine to his nose.
All right, let me take a look at this. All right.
But also, what is a bear market? A bear market is when the bottom's dropping out, and that's basically what's happening to the MCU.
So let's read this. It's not just about tentpoles. The overall champs this weekend were lower budgeted releases, with Universal's Cocaine Bear trampling its team projections with $23.9 million, and Lionsgate Jesus Revolution turning water into cash with $15.5 million after being initially forecast in the $6 to $7 million range. However, both movies had something that propelled audiences. They had sticky titles. It doesn't get much better than Cocaine Bear and Jesus in your movie titles when it comes to creating want-to-see marketing. Disney Marvel official number.
Now I want to see a crossover. Jesus versus Cocaine Bear.
Now you had now I'm imagining.
It's giving me this look like, the hell's wrong with you?
I'm not. I didn't say it, Netter, but I have to admit, when he said that, I thought of the movie. I thought of like a scene they could have had in Cocaine Bear. Was the Cocaine Bear is after them, and I guess at that point you're saying, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Oh no. Now I'm thinking of the bear saying, "Do you believe in Jesus?" Yes. Well, good, because you're going to meet him.
You're about to meet him. Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was from Death Wish 2. Do you remember the guy had the?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Terrible, terrible movie. Anyway, okay. Disney Marvel's official numbers for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania still show the worst drop for an MCU title at negative 69%, with $32 million after an estimated $14.6 million Saturday, plus 76% for Lono 200. Total of $162 million in first place. This is where I'm getting confused, because the title says it didn't do well, but now this is saying looks like it beat out. I don't know. It's not doing as good as it should be. That's what we need to make.
It sure as hell should not be. Yeah.
So how will Marvel post-mortem this? Aren't they already plussing with every movie they make? One insider close to the film isn't worried, telling us Marvel takes something away from movie, including Black Panther, including Avengers. I can say we're incredibly proud of the film. Jonathan Majors does a fantastic job as Kang. Every time they say this, I'm sure he did a fantastic job as Kang. I'm sure he's a good actor. I was all like saying the only good thing about this movie is the actor playing the villain, and everything else is bad. I've heard people argue that Adam Driver was good as Kylo Ren, but the rest of the movie sucked. I would disagree with that, but there are people who liked Adam Driver in those sequels.
Well, and again, I think a lot of commenters are going out of their way to point out, so as not to Rose Tico anyone, this is not the actor's fault that they were given a shit script that nobody likes, right? Look, even I'm hearing from people that saw Loki series. They're like, this is not the same Kane that was introduced in Loki. And the fact is, the Kane that we're going to see going forward in other Marvel films is also not going to be the same Kane. This poor actor is going to be playing a different character all the time because he's playing the same character from multiple universes. It's a pick and choose villain. It's freaking ridiculous. They're always so concerned about spoon feeding the audience like the audience isn't going to understand. And then they throw this shit out there. This multiverse crap is the biggest headache I've ever seen.
Well, apparently they say this is the first one in the whole like now they're really going to get into the multiverse with this movie.
Oh, because they didn't already. That's
no. This is just the beginning. Apparently, that's what I've heard.
People are getting tired of having to do homework before they can understand what they've seen in a movie, where they have to go to YouTube, explain the ending of this movie and that movie, or you got to read all these comics from 1972 to understand the story because we didn't give you any of the setup,
this talk I'm seeing between Horizon Talker and Rosefire about Ant-Man and Iron Man. I would have loved to have seen a crossover Ant-Man Iron Man movie.
Right?
That would have been kind of cool.
Because we've seen those stories in the comics. Back when it was...
To see them bounce off each other, that would have been interesting.
Back when it was Hank Pym. Pym and Tony Stark were contemporaries, and they had a bit of rivalry, but sometimes they'd help each other out and, share that technology. That was all thrown out the window because they wanted to jump ahead. And then Hank Pym gets stuffed in as an afterthought. Retroactively.
Well, this is why they could have rebooted the MCU and just focused on newer heroes.
Or they could have gotten it right the first time. Just saying. If you'd have done what Peter Jackson did and took the time to think and plan and pull in other experts and do your damn research, but no one in fucking Hollywood can do that these days.
Well, to be fair, I think Marvel was doing that in the beginning before Disney bought the studios. I think they were being careful.
Yep, you're absolutely right. John Favreau was doing that. Kevin Feige came along and said, fuck all that shit.
Yeah, Kevin Feige ended up taking over after the acquisition. I think that's what happened. And I think the movies still coming out were still pretty decent because they were probably already planned. This is all... I'm just smelling all the bad stuff with Marvel is when Disney took on full control and full creative control. This is what this is all... Anyway. Let's go to the next article.
Well, wait a minute. Before we do, I did want to make one comment about Cocaine Bear. So I just went off on my rant about the complexities of Marvel and how it's getting worse and how you have to do all this homework to do it. There's an Instagram that I shared with Age of Boomer before the stream. This guy basically goes off on that same rant. Here's what you need to know about Cocaine Bear before you go see it. Absolutely nothing. If you understand the words cocaine and bear, you already understand everything you need to know to understand this movie. You will not have to see a video that explains the ending to Cocaine Bear. It'll just be, remember seeing Cocaine Bear? Remember how it ended? Yeah, me too. That's it. But
do you know what's funny? What's disturbing? Apparently, that was based on a true story.
Yeah, it was. And like the first 5 minutes of it was accurate, and then it's Hollywood bullshit. But somebody posted for Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge says it's from the Babylon Bee Rehab Bear. That's the sequel, and I said that it seems like the obvious sequel. Tom responded, Cocaine Bear 3 Relapse, and I came back with Cocaine Bear Cocaine 4, the number 4 ever. I said, for crying out loud, we've just outlined their whole franchise for them. Just go make that happen, guys.
Iron Man 2, which was basically brought in to set up Avengers instead of just being a regular sequel.
But one more shout out that I want to do on this is WDW Pro has a great video talking about this exact article, this exact and these guys are much better with the finances and whatnot, but specifically talking about how this drop off on this movie is worse than you think. This movie's probably not even going to break even as far as what do you call it, like after marketing and what it costs to make.
There's all sorts of shady stuff around this third Ant-Man. Apparently stuff with the CG didn't look right, and they say it's because Disney got greedy or something, or I know these effects houses are being worked to the bone on this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You get what you pay for, right? And if you are willing to put in the time and effort to pay the experts to give you the best possible, whether it's CG renderings or practical effects or whatever it is, it's you'll get something good. You'll have that cutting edge thing. You'll have the original Star Wars. You'll have the original Jurassic Park. You'll have You'll have the original The Thing, right? Where decades later, people are still saying, "Yeah, we're way past this," and it's still amazing, right? Whereas this is Disney opening week, and people are saying this looks like shit because they weren't given enough time. They're stretched too thin, and everything has to be CG. And there's only so many CG artists that they can draw on.
Yeah, it's a hard art, and apparently it's. I'm feeling bad. I know we talk about unions. This might be the one group that really needs to unionize because apparently they're being abused.
This was something that I had talked about. I'm sure it was probably on one of these streams with you, Boomer, but I have said that these CG artists, and I was specifically talking about when they were doing CG in the prequels, the Star Wars prequels. They had a huge misstep in the first movie in the way that they rendered Yoda. And there was a lot of fan backlash about it. And Lucas goes back to the artists and what do we need to do? And they said, well, here's part of the problem. When Frank Oz did the puppet in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he was acting. He was an actor acting the role of Yoda through his puppetry. And the quirks of the puppet and his, inflections and the way he controls and manipulates it is a form of acting.
Yes.
And although he was doing the voice, that was not being conveyed in the animation. So they go back to the animators and they're like, yeah, we need to rethink how we do this. And they literally recreated the Yoda puppet in the animation with the hand inside of it.
See, that's dedication. Whatever you say about the prequels.
They gave the ears the flop. If you ever pay close attention to Yoda talking in Empire Strikes Back, and he turns his head, those ears are made of foam rubber, and they kind of flop around in a very natural kind of way. You add that back into the CG, and it takes on more life. And, nothing against the artists that originally rendered Yoda in the first iteration. And I say first iteration because there's already been a special edition that replaced Yoda in the first movie. But, they learned from their experience. Just like an actor. You look at an actor's first appearance, and years later, their skill has grown. It's an art form. So all of these digital actors are acting, right? They are putting emotion that because they're like painters, right? They've got to think through the lighting. They've got to think through the contours of the face, the muscles underneath, the emotion that's being conveyed in the eyes and the brow and the smile or lack thereof. And you talked about Gollum, right? The motion capture. That's why that's so important, is because now the animator has a physical representation. So when Andy Serkis is emoting, and you've seen these things. You see Andy Serkis with the dots on his face on the left side, and you see the final render on the right, and you're like, I can almost see Andy Serkis's face in Gollum. That's not, an insult against Andy Serkis. If anything, it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's his emotions that the animators are able to capture, literally, and bring through. So I think that is missing when you are just churning out something really, really quick, right? You just have to slap the face on, get it out there. And that's what we're now seeing on the screens these days.
Good
Sorry,
night.
I got
No,
off
it's
on a little
fine.
rant about something I'm very passionate about. So
No, but you
thank you
make a
for
good
letting me do
point,
it.
and I don't think we're having that passion in some of these Disney Marvel movies these days. Signing off for the night. Good night. Ever good night,
Oh, take care,
Rosefire.
Rosefire. Thanks for hanging
Catch
out
the
with
rest
us.
on the repeat.
So
Uh,
let's get off of Disney and Marvel, and
let's get into Harry
let's go
Potter.
talk a little bit more about what Warner Brothers is doing, because here we got some potentially much better news for our fandoms.
You know, I was just thinking, Cocaine Bear, talk about a fantastic beast. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. The Harry Potter
Well,
TV.
let me tell you something. Talk about a fantastic beast. It was magical the way he could fly.
Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
bear.
Harry Potter TV spinoff gets promising updates from Warner Brothers. What?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't even know about this. Although the Fantastic Beasts franchise was considered a disappointment for many, yeah, it was considered a disappointment for many because they hired they fired the main actor because of false claims by his wife, and
Yep.
that destroyed the franchise.
That certainly went a long
Johnny
way. Yeah.
Depp was the big actor in that franchise, and with all due respect to Mads Mikkelsen, he was fine, but and plus they also had Ezra Miller as another main character in that franchise.
Well, and there was these are all a part of it. It was worse than the sum of the whole, right? Because you had the pirate guy being fired. You had the Flash guy choking out women and all that kind of stuff, and he's being retained, and so you have all the bad blood about that. But then you also have the messing around with gender roles, and the making sure they inject the message in there, which people were kind of not too pleased with. And then the overall story was just kind of, it's like, where's the Hogwarts,
Well, we finally, you finally got Dumbledore at the end of the second movie, and he was in the third one. It was just, Jude Law played the younger Dumbledore in that.
Right.
There was some great world building in it. J.K. Rowling knows world building, and that's a skill, unlike writers of other franchises like Star Trek. Sorry, I'm talking about
absolutely true.
But no, I mean,
well, no. See, when a world has already been built, you got to acknowledge it. You don't deconstruct it and build a new world. On top of
well,
it,
you better build a better world if you're going to get rid of the old one. But no, the point is that no, J.K. Rowling. I mean, it's her world, but she was creating the new world of the United States and what the Wizarding world was like in the United States in that first movie. And it was different how there are all kinds of different rules for American witches and wizards. Right. And one of the interesting thing is that they had a death penalty in the American branch for like bad wizards, and I think they actually use the pensive as a means of as their lethal punishment in the American branch. I thought that was interesting because you saw something you knew from the Harry Potter novels being used for a different purpose over here in the Fantastic Beasts, and it was interesting. And that's thought. That's someone thinking through this stuff. That's attention to detail. But yeah, the movies themselves they didn't quite gel. And apparently we're not going to get a part 4.
Yeah,
so I guess it's over. But I guess
let's face it. I mean, this is a very obvious business decision. It wasn't doing well. The last one pretty much failed. So
I think a large part though was getting rid of Johnny Depp. I think that hurt it a lot.
But at the same time, from the business standpoint, kind of doesn't matter anymore. It's done. You know?
The person that made that decision is no longer working for Warner's, though, who got rid of Johnny Depp. Anyway, the clamor for new Harry Potter content has still been sky high, and new updates seizing a promising future for the Wizarding World. Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2 put an end to the adventures of Daniel Radcliffe's titular wizard and his friends by finally defeating Voldemort, but it's clear that there are more stories to tell. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child offered a brand new story that reunited the franchise's main trio, but Warner Brothers has yet to make it in live action. Despite that, it was reported that the higher-ups of Warner Brothers Discovery are planning to, quote-unquote, go hard after a movie adaptation. Now plans for the Wizarding World small-screen expansion were unveiled. Warner Brothers TV sets sights on Harry Potter series. Speaking with Variety, Warner Brothers TV CEO Channing Dungey shared plans to expand the Wizarding World franchise on the small screen. Dungey confirmed that there is a tremendous amount of ambition for a Harry Potter TV series, while also revealing that the company is nearing a deal with Amazon for animated DC content. What?
Yeah, interesting.
Following the success of the Harry Potter reunion and the competition show Harry Potter Hogwarts Tournament of Houses, Dungey shared that they are engaged in a number of different conversations about the set expansion. Although nothing is imminent yet, the Warner Brothers TV CEO reiterated there's a lot of interest and a lot of passion for the franchise. I wish I could tell you something was imminent on the horizon, but there's a lot of interest and a lot of passion for it, so absolutely. Our unscripted team did a fantastic return to Hogwarts special for HBO last year. Permanent Houses that Helen Mirren was the host for, that was a quiz show. The audience is ready. They want to go. You know what I'm wondering? Okay, what could the Harry Potter show be about? Let's get into it real quick. Seems the more Harry Potter content could arrive at Warner Brothers soon. Discovery plans. Plans for its small screen expansion. Although nothing is set in stone yet, fans clamor combined with the franchise's potential is the key ingredient for its bright future. Given that the Fantastic Beasts movies already explored the past events set in a time before Harry Potter's adventure in the Wizarding World, it's possible the TV series could feature the future events that will untimely lead to Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. The Harry Potter TV series may end up focusing on the events that follow Deathly Hallows Part 2, leading to the epilogue of the main trio parting ways with their sons and daughters on platform 3 and 4 quarters. Okay, 3 and 4 quarters of the future. However, the challenge here is whether Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint are all down to return, especially considering that they are the backbone of the franchise. Okay, so you don't know.
Right.
You're speculating. This is my theory on it, and I don't know if anybody's going to like it. Remember how there was a rumor going on that they want to remake Harry Potter from the ground
yeah,
up?
and I would say that is just a rumor. I have heard nothing like that from a credible source.
It makes sense if they wanted to. They could remake Harry Potter as a television series and do each season a year. And this way, one of the biggest problems with the movies is, unfortunately, is that there's a lot of story, especially in those later movies, that had to be crunched down into like 2.5 hours. Like the final book, they split into 2 movies, but like you lost a lot of story in those movies.
If they did that, they would have to do it in such a way that they don't screw up anything that they did that was right. You know, you almost would have to make it as a companion piece.
Maybe. I mean, I heard that was a rumor too, but there's a lot in that. There's a lot in the books that didn't get covered in the movies. And
yeah. No, you're right.
Like one of my favorite characters in the books was Peeves, the poltergeist, who was never in any of the movies. And because it's like what is essential to move the plot along in the movie. So we can't have some of the more whimsical stuff that happened in the books. Like Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day Party from Chamber of Secrets. That was funny. But did it really further along the plot? No, it's just a funny little side. See, it wasn't always just about moving the plot forward in those books. It's also a lot of little things that would world build in those books. So I don't know what they're planning. And maybe too, they don't want to cheese off the fans of the child actors that were already Harry Potter. Maybe they don't want to recast. I don't know. It would be interesting if they could.
I think we have got to get away from this concept of, one actor per role. We have got to get used to the idea of recasting roles.
Yes.
Including and especially the big ones. I, again, refer to, Retro Blasting talking about Indiana Jones. How it was always meant to be an anthology, and after Harrison Ford played him a couple times, you just replace him with someone else. The way they did with James Bond. You should do that the way they've done with Superman. But you don't have to stop the continuity. You just keep telling more stories that could very well be in the same continuity, but, with a different actor. And look, just like every time a play is done and you recast a role, someone else is playing Hamlet.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes even a black woman.
Well, yes, sometimes. We'll be getting into plays later, but let's move along because we got a lot. Frankly, this article I'm going to read a little bit from. I was reading it and I was thinking of Rhodes from George Romero's Day of the Dead. It says, "You just gave me a mouthful of Greek salad." It's a wonderful line, and I don't know. We'll keep you posted on the Harry Potter TV spinoff if all y'all are interested, or if everybody. I don't know if we have Harry Potter fans in our stream. Is that even thing? Apparently, though, these are the three big pillars over at Warner Brothers right now. There are DC, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
I was thinking they could have very easily done an animated series based on the Harry Potter books. That could be a separate thing they could have done, but
I'm telling you, with as much media options as are available, and especially with Harry Potter, they've got this very popular game that just came out that's blown away all the
they
records.
could do a series set in that time period.
They should do, and they should do more games, and they should do cartoon series, and definitely get the frickin' toys out there. Go, 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 go. Market, market, market.
Sell, sell, sell.
Always be closing.
You call yourself a salesman, you son of a bitch?
Yeah. Okay. That rewatch has to happen sooner than later. Yeah.
I'm telling you. But no, my favorite character in the movie is Richard Roma, Al Pacino's character. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say about him. We'll get into it someday. But yeah, turning the corner. Reduced streaming losses, song-free cash flow, and a focus on debut debt reduction. Those are some of the positives in Warner Brothers Discovery's fourth quarter earnings update on February 24th that were dissected by Wall Street experts all overnight. But some also turned their attention to questions of the future. Okay. So, Turning According asked the Moffat-Nathanson team led by Robert Fishman and Matthew in the Friday report. The firm maintained that its market perform rate to Warner Brothers Discovery, but raised its stock price target from $2 to $17 to reflect lower net balance. Okay. However, the team emphasized that said, we still expect elevated debt load, macro headwinds, and growing secular pressures from faster cord cutting, along with uncertainty around key strategic questions to keep the stock price range bound. I think I understand cord cutting. I mean, people getting rid of HBO. I'm not sure what they were referring to there. Or does that mean just kind of getting rid of the electricity in your household because you can't afford it anymore? I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Sadly enough, some of these Wall Street guys know more of what's going on than anyone in the news media. But
you're not wrong.
Okay, basically, I think they're saying that Warner Brothers is doing better. That's the crux of this article, right? Like Bank of America said they have a $21 price market. Studios revenue came in below our forecast, so they're not liking the studio revenue. Networks were inclined that DTC was modestly above. But we continue to believe the management is taking the appropriate corrective measures to the business to view the company's more balanced and holistic approach to generating growth. Basically, Zaslav is whipping the company into shape, right?
Right.
Remain extremely bullish on the long-term potential of Warner Brothers Discovery. So, okay.
This earnings call was a surprise in many, many ways. And I think we're going to see a lot of positivity coming out of Warner Brothers in the future. Look, this has nothing to do... we can just put aside everything you think about your franchises, whether they're done right or wrong, whether you enjoy how they're being handled, the message, lack of message, whatever. I've been saying this for almost a decade now. It's all about the money. It's the bottom line. It's always going to be. And we have gone through about 3 to 5 years here where Hollywood and the entertainment industry has completely lost the script. And the investors are starting to come out and say, make money or we will destroy you. We will bury you.
Well, apparently, like I say, Zaslav seems to at least have a plan. Zaslav at least knows what makes money.
Yeah.
That's the impression. He knows what their key franchises are. He knows you don't throw away Harry Potter. And you don't... I mean, can you imagine the people that fired Johnny Depp were still in charge? They'd be trying to get rid of Rowling next. Time for me to head to sleep. Catch you on the rest tomorrow. Don't burst the vessel, geezers. Yeah, well,
Oh
we may
yeah,
we
take
may get
care,
there.
Horizon Talker.
Gary Glenross, great movie. Yes, it is. So we will get to it at some point. But let's get to the next thing. It prequel series.
Oh yeah, this
Here
one actually
we're
kind of surprised me.
here we're praising Warner Brothers, but maybe they'll be. We'll see. Go ahead and you want to paste
Well,
it.
I don't know. I mean, at first I was like, "Oh, not another prequel," but
I was
I
actually
don't
thinking
know.
if they were to treat it like a Twilight Zone series,
Yeah,
maybe like an anthology type series, that could be interesting.
depends on how much they have Stephen King actually involved in it. This is one where it won't necessarily benefit from having the creator involved in it. Just my opinion.
HBO Max is expanding the world of Stephen King's It with the drama series Welcome to Derry from Warner Brothers Television and developed for TV from filmmakers Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti. It Chapter 2 and Jason Fuchs It Chapter 2 Wonder Woman. Set in the world of Stephen King's It universe, Welcome to Derry is based on King's It novel and expands on the story established by the filmmaker Andy Muschietti in the feature films It and It Chapter 2. I'm excited that the story of Derry, Maine's most haunted city, is continuing, and I'm glad Andy Muschietti is going to be overseeing the frightening festivities along with a brain trust including his talented sister Barbara, said King. Red balloons all around. Okay, well, he wants the money. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you like the new It movies? Did you see them?
I did not see them. I
I
did not
thought the
see them.
first part was okay, and the second part, they were way too overindulgent. It went on for like 3 hours. It was just. Part of the
My
problem was in the first one, it takes place in the 50s when they're young and in the 80s when they're adults. This one, it's
right.
the 80s when they're young and now when they're adults.
Yeah.
And
And
it doesn't have the same feel, in my opinion.
my biggest problem was with the original, the the prologue was the first episode, and then they squeezed everything else down into the second episode. And then when I saw that the new one was, you know,
all prologue.
yeah, it's like I saw them making the same mistakes, but you're right. They take it out of where it had been, the time. So you're already making changes, and it's like I think there's just a curse on Stephen King, adaptations, because you'll get one and it's never quite right, and then they'll do it again, and that's also not right. And so now you got two out there that are not right. Are you going to go for a third?
It's weird because even with the recent Stand redo, which had a lot of problems, it actually had a better ending than the original miniseries had. But it's just it's always something's wrong. I mean, some of the best Stephen King adaptations I thought were some of those earlier movies, so like the original Carrie, the original Shining, the Christine, made by John Carpenter, because they would get top directors to direct those movies. I don't know. My favorite Stephen King adaptation was Creepshow because George Romero did that, and actually King was involved in that production too. That turned out pretty well. That's still one of the best horror movies of the '80s, is Creepshow. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, they could do it as a horror anthology series pretty easily. That's probably not what they're going to do, because you need characters to follow. If they're going up against Pennywise, they're all doomed because it has to be the kids to stop Pennywise.
But you know what would also be good? An anthology series, just much more in general, based on Stephen King's work, right? So you could do an anthology series that just goes up and down the East Coast of the U.S., telling stories set in Derry and the other fictional towns.
Cities, Castle Rock, and other places.
Yeah, right?
Okay, yeah, maybe.
And bring a bit of an H.P. Lovecraft, modern day H.P. Lovecraft feel to it. That could work.
We'll see. I mean, yeah, maybe. You know what horror movie franchise I thought would make a good series if they could do it justice and do it right would be Phantasm. I think Phantasm could work as an anthology, as like a television series. But
I agree with you. I don't have any faith in anyone
No, I
being
don't
able
think
to
they would
actually
do it
do that
right, especially since
because,
Coscarelli passed away, so
and you
he
have
can't
to
do it now.
understand what right is, and I don't think there's enough people that do
Yeah.
understand it well enough to do that.
Can you imagine if they bring back the Tommy knockers? Oh boy. I read Stephen King's memoir, and apparently he was so wasted he didn't remember. He's like, "Yeah, Tommy knockers. I like those books. I wish I remembered writing them." Because he was that messed up on drugs and alcohol when he was writing them.
Yeah,
He just
yeah.
doesn't
Well, you
remember.
watch.
Yeah.
They'll remake it and they'll call it the Tammy Knockers.
Let's move on. Let's move along, huh? We got a lot of articles to get through.
Did you like how I called it game stopping?
Game stopping. Yes. I remember when the whole stock thing happened. Remember that? Like the playing around with the stock market with GameStop. I think
Oh yeah,
talked about that on this channel a while back. Yeah, but GameStop ain't doing well. Okay.
yeah.
2 years after Reddit bought GameStop stock to national attention and record highs, GameStop is again sparking discussion across the internet. In a viral video with over 6.3 million views as of Saturday, TikTok user Red shares what she says it's like to be a manager at a physical GameStop location. The outlook is not great. Everything's on clearance, she writes in a text overlaying the video. No one comes in anymore, and the corporate layoffs have started. The pivot away from retail shouldn't surprise anyone that's been following GameStop. In the company's 2021 annual report, the company claimed they were focused on transforming into a customer obsessed technology company to delight gamers, which included strengthening its e commerce presence. In the time since, there have been major shakeups at the company, including a series of layoffs, as mentioned in Red's video. The company also appears to have recently closed a Kentucky based distribution center. According to Retail Dive, these moves were likely made as a result of the company's recent focus on profitability. Looking ahead, we have two overarching priorities: achieving profitability in the near term and driving pragmatic growth over the long term, CEO Matt Furlong said on a call with investors per Retail Dive. We are going to be very judicious with respect to how we allocate capital to the core business. There's been an update in an email to the Daily Dot. Red elaborated on the current status of our GameStop location. It was dead pre-Christmas, picked up during the holidays, and then immediately died again after New Year's. It even had its dead moments during the holidays too, which was odd. She wrote, I mean, for Black Friday, we opened at 5, and I got there at 3 to make sure everything was set up and ready. No customers show up until after 8 a.m. Yikes. So no one was
Yeah.
there at 5 a.m., huh? She says there's no talk of closing her location. I don't know why everyone in the comment thinks we're closing. Laugh out loud, she continued. Tons of GameStop stores have closed over the years and recently. Currently, there are stores going through closure in other city states, but the employees are still being told to still push reservations for games coming out after the store will be closed. It's a little disgusting on corporate's part. That's awful, actually.
Yes, it is.
So, what, you pre order your game at the store and they say, sorry, you're closed. You'll have to pick it up at this location? Or are they just not going to give them the game?
I hope it's the first and
Sorry,
not the latter.
sorry, sir. You purchased at that location. That location's closed. We can't help you. Oh, maybe they're planning to close the whole chains down, so they don't have to give anybody their games. Okay.
Maybe.
She said, while it wasn't a closure for her store, they laid off over 50 district managers, an entire warehouse, a whole tech support team, and a whole customer service for phone support without notice. Her relationship with the job has changed over time, she added. I've been at GameStop since 2005, quit twice and came back. I've been a manager since about 2009, 2010. GameStop used to be a great job. I love the people I work with, and some of my best friends are former coworkers, she shared. How can you not like this job? You literally sell happiness. Corporate has slowly killed this company over the years, beginning with the purchase of ThinkGeek and the forcing of phone trades, she said. I love selling games and talking to customers about gaming. It's my passion. However, I refuse to lie to customers and tell them that they need to have XYZ or tell them they need to have the membership card to get the price matching. I would much rather have a happy return customer rather than nickel and dime them. I love helping people, creating a happy moment, and making that connection, she concluded. It's my dream to run a gaming store of my own one day, and I will miss GameStop when I eventually leave. Um, yeah, I ceased going into GameStop years ago. Even though, as you know, I play games. they become a problematic chain. They've been a problem chain for a long time. One thing I couldn't stand is when you would go in there to try to buy a game and they wouldn't have the case for it. I'm like, I'm not going to buy it if you don't give me the case it comes in. It's like, this is not going to happen.
Why would they not?
Because they lost the display case, and it was the last copy. See, whenever in the old days, what they would do is they would put a display copy out, but it would be an already purchased copy, and they would keep the display copy case out there, and then they would put the game in a generic case. Then you would bring the display copy out. Okay, we'll give you the copy we're using as a display case, and put the game back in its original case and give it to you. But they lost the display case. I'm like, I'm not going to take this without its actual case.
Yeah.
And I bought it on Amazon.
Yeah, you know what?
Tell
that
you,
is, that is the same display model. That is the same mentality of like when Blockbuster had VHSs on display. That business model should not be happening anymore. If you're going to have a brick and mortar store selling games, you do it the way, like Best Buy does, right? It never comes out of its box.
Or what you could do is we're living in an age of printers, and you could print out fake covers for fake cases, and then people can bring up the fake case. That's what Toys R Us would do. They would have these little. They wouldn't have the cases on the shelves. They would have this thing. You would take the slip out, and you could look at the front cover and the back cover because they were like these little plastic things that were attached to the wall. Then you would bring the slip up to the cash register, and then after you pay, the woman would go in the back, or the man or whatever was working there, and they would get your game for you. And that was security, because games are expensive and you don't want people ripping you off. I understand that. But yeah.
But let me say this. You brought up Toys R Us, and I'm listening to this. I don't think I've ever been in a GameStop, but gaming's not really my thing to begin with.
You can go there now because half the store is just toys and collectibles. They're not even focused on the games like they were.
Fine.
You might be able to get some cheap action figures there.
It sounds like they are making the same business mistake that Toys R Us did, right? I said this when Toys R Us went out of business. I said they failed to adapt and stay ahead of the curve. What made Toys R Us great was that they were one of the world's biggest toy stores. You could go in there, they had everything, and if they didn't, they could find another store that had it, right? We don't have it, but such and such had it, right? And then over time, it started to become a bigger and bigger problem when their computers weren't integrated. They didn't have the level of service that they used to. So it's not like they would call the store in the next town over to see if they had it. They're like, sorry, we don't have it. We don't know. We can't tell you, whatever. But I could go online and find it. So why would I ever go to Toys R Us? What Toys R Us needed to do was to basically come up with their own computer system so that they could find every other Toys R Us that had it and say, we can either have it shipped here from that store or you can go pick it up, and make that work for you. If we don't have it, we can order it for you. If you want, you can order it from Toys R Us online and we'll send it to you. They needed to be doing what Amazon was doing.
Yeah. But basically, you could pay for it at the store and they'll mail it to you in the mail.
Because they didn't do that, Amazon got all the business and Toys R Us went out of business. Now it sounds like GameStop is saying the exact same thing because they're pointing to, what was the geek outlet?
Think Geek.
Yeah, they're pointing to Think Geek. Well, nothing prevented you from doing exactly what Think Geek has been doing. Why didn't you do that? Then you would have a foot up on them because as far as I know, ThinkGeek doesn't have any physical brick and mortar stores. The benefit to a brick and mortar store is I can go in there and buy the thing if it's there and available, and I don't have to wait until tomorrow or next week or 6 months from now on a pre-order. I'm going in and I'm buying the thing.
It's interesting you mention that because I have bought stuff from GameStop.com, the online site. And, sometimes I wait for something to go on sale. And I wait for it to go on sale, and I order it from GameStop.com, and I order it new. And then they send me a copy, and then the shrink wrap is off.
Yeah.
And there's a sticker on it, sealing it. And I'm like, is this really new if you took the shrink wrap off?
And
it's not new.
And are they charging you for shipping at GameStop?
It depends on how much you spend. If
Okay.
you spend
So
over a certain amount, you get free
here's
shipping.
the shtick that would make this make sense. Free shipping to your local store, and you can go pick it up there.
But then you go into the local store, and then they try getting you to buy the membership card.
I don't see a problem with that. That's a marketing option. They also might get you to buy some tchotchke that's, you know, a collectible that you see in the store when you walk
Would you
in.
like some insurance on your game? No, because it's a game. For starters, if in the old days, even with the Nintendo cartridge, if the cartridge or whatever was faulty, it's under warranty with Nintendo, so I don't need to buy your extra insurance on top of that. I just send it to Nintendo and call them up.
And what have you lost by telling them no? I mean,
Nothing, but it's a pain in the ass.
I don't see the problem with them trying to upsell you. That's what stores
No,
do.
see, this is we'll have an interesting Glenn Ross discussion.
But because you can always just say no, and
I do say no, but it's a hassle.
How is it a hassle?
Because they're being a pain. Let me.
That I don't know. It's hitting my brain the same way as
I don't care
words
if they're
of violence.
Okay, I'll be put it to this way. I don't care if they're trying to upsell me. If they're trying to upsell me something that isn't a ripoff. Do you understand? Like they're trying to say, do you want to buy the strategy guide with it? That's something of tangible value. You might need the strategy guide for the game. Do you want to buy a controller? Like this is a special controller made for this game that, you know, like the Resident Evil chainsaw controllers. Like that I understand. You know, sell me a membership card and all this other stuff. Knock it off.
So you must hate when HR comes to you and asks you if you want your health insurance. That's a ripoff too, but they always offer it. Anyway, my point is that they're missing a lot of opportunity here, and they're blaming other outlets that are doing what they should be doing. So, I mean, and now you're sharing some of your personal experiences with GameStop that tell me their business model is way archaic. I had no idea. I thought it was just not having the internet presence and all that kind of stuff. It goes farther than that.
No, they're an outdated model of store.
Absolutely.
I mean, they do have an online site, and yeah, you can. The funny thing was they've had online things where they have a cool pre-order bonus, and then you know you can get the pre-order bonus, but then you have to go to the store to pick up the pre-order bonus. I'm like, the store may not even have the stuff. I'm not going to the hassle. I don't like going to those stores too. I'll be blunt. I don't like the people behind the counter sometimes because
that is a problem too. If you have a brick and mortar store, that is customer service, and you would better be. You know, I mean, what's the one that I always hold up as customer service? Chick-fil-A, you know?
Excellent customer service.
Always smiley, happy, you know, the way they respond.
They can upsell me on something. Do you want a cookie with your meal? I'm like, yes, because you're so polite. You know, I mean, that's the thing.
Actually, it's more like, no, but I'll take it anyway.
You want to donate $1 to feed the children? Yes, because you're so polite. Like, those are different things as opposed to, I guess it's the way you sell something. I guess that's what it is. And to be fair,
that sounds like you just hit on it because it's like, I know it's a scam, you know it's a scam, but it's their job to do it. Look, it happens to you every time you go into the grocery store. Do you want to sign up for our blah 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 membership card? You know they're obligated to do it, and either you already have, and you go, no, I've already got it, or no, I don't want it.
If it's free, I'll do it. If it's going to cost me, it's such and such.
Be careful because if you sign up for the free thing, remember if it's free, then you are the commodity. They're using it to get your information and keep tabs on you. Just saying. But that's a completely side point.
But you get bonus points every time you shop. We think it is.
If you're a big GameStop fan, you better go check them out before they completely liquidate. They might not be there tomorrow.
Yeah, GameStop is abrasive. I don't like going there on a Black Friday, and I know what the Black Friday deals everywhere because I get up on this stuff, and I know, they're selling Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Zero Dawn for $20, and I'm like, I don't really want that game because it features this weird girl that looks like she has a futuristic mullet, and I'm not playing it. And then you have some hipster guy, this is the best game. Shut up, Sony fanboy. I don't care. I don't say that to him, but it's like, I know what you're trying to sell me, and I don't care. I don't want to buy Horizon Zero Dawn, which I ended up getting for free anyway because Sony gave it to me. They gave that game out for free during that stay home and play when they were all in on the got to stay home, not go out during the whole thing. So during the whole pandemic thing, so they would give you a free game like each winter. which, you know, some of them were actually some decent free games, but anyway, they haven't done that
Okay,
recently. So
let's talk
let's go
about
to Ernie
Ghostbusters.
Hudson. Let's go to Ernie Hudson. We got more stories to get through.
Yep.
I'm wondering if you and I will have different opinions on this, but I'll go ahead and read it. And we'll get
Okay.
into it.
That's why it's
Okay.
probably good that we don't talk about these things beforehand, so that we can have an honest discussion online about it.
Ernie Hudson says being pushed aside in Ghostbusters marketing felt deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is from the AV Club. We covered them last week, so they're
Yeah.
of a certain bent. But I do like Ernie Hudson, and
Yeah.
it's not
Well,
a
let's be honest. I don't think they're going to misrepresent Ernie Hudson's words. So
no.
let's
Let's go
assume.
into it.
Yeah.
It's not a new criticism that Ernie Hudson's Ghostbusters character, Winston Zedmore, is among modern movie making's most unfairly treated characters. Zedmore's accomplishments include saving New York City from a giant marshmallow man, driving the Statue of Liberty, and gazing upon the unholy CGI Harold Ramis in Ghostbusters Afterlife. Shut the f up! You know what this is? This is them.
Yeah.
This is them throwing shade at fan service. Oh, it's fan service,
Yes,
and
they
they
are.
don't like it.
Yes, they
Screw
are.
you. Heck, he even gets one of the best lines in the movie. I love this town, representing 1/4 of the original Ghostbusters. Zedmore is a Big Apple legend, even if the ad wizards at Columbia Pictures were too afraid to acknowledge it in the marketing. While fans at home probably had a hint as to why the one black Ghostbuster wasn't included in the marketing for the movie, the film's impact was a difficult one for actor Ernie Hudson to live through. Speaking to SiriusXM's the Howard Stern wrap-up show, Hudson revealed that living with the success of Ghostbusters hasn't been easy. Hudson calls himself the guy who was brought in, as his fellow busters Dan Aykroyd, Hal Ramis, and Bill Murray had starred in numerous projects together. Aykroyd and Ramis both wrote the film, and Murray joined the project after fellow SNL castmate John Belushi died. After that, the three had ongoing working relationship with director Ivan Reitman, who Hudson calls a really brilliant man and someone he has so much love and appreciation for. Hudson maintains they were all welcome and inclusive. Columbia, not so much. The studio wasn't, and the studio continued not to be, he said. So it was it made it very, very difficult because I was part of it, but then I was very selectively was pushed aside. The issues began with a script change after Hudson was hired. As originally written, Winston was in the very beginning of the movie. However, the shooting script punted the character to the halfway mark, which he says felt deliberate. While Ernie Hudson says Ghostbusters was the most difficult movie he's ever done, things only got worse for Hudson when Columbia marketed the movie. He wasn't on the original poster, and even decades later, his image was missing from materials. I went to the 30th anniversary release of the movie, and all the posters are three guys, he said. Now, I know the fans see it differently, and I'm so thankful for the fans because the fans basically identified with Winston, especially young. I don't want to say minority kids, but a lot of kids. I think it was kids of all ages. I'll just point
No,
that
yeah.
out.
Let me interrupt right there
And
and
kids
just
of
say
all demographics. Yeah.
I've said this about Ernie Hudson a number of times. He really is the audience insert character.
Yes.
Regardless of your skin color, age, or gender, because the other three are the
scientists,
the guys that
scientists.
start the business, right?
Yeah.
And then he's the first one who's brought in, as a franchisee, so to speak. And I'm exaggerating that because I'm also thinking about the extended Ghostbusters stories of other cities and whatnot. So, you could totally see Winston Zeddemore, starting, another franchise in another town or something. Let's face it. The third movie has brought him out to be, he's the one that kept it alive.
Yeah.
He pretty much now owns, he's the businessman now behind
He's the business side of things, yeah.
But he was the working class guy who literally came in answering an ad in a newspaper. Everybody who's ever gone for a job interview, right?
Yeah.
And, that whole thing, do you know about this and that and believe in this and that? If there's a paycheck in it, I'll believe anything. Look, it's the same thing at the company I'm at without going too much into detail, where I work. I work for a company that manufactures and distributes chemicals. I know bupkis about the chemicals that we sell. But, I said, I know the order entry system. I know how how the shipping works and this and that. I can definitely do this job. Okay, you got the job. You know.
Yeah, exactly, and that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
So yeah,
what
this is
makes.
absolutely not a racial thing. And if they're trying to push that in this article, that it's just showing their bias.
No, he's talking about the marketing. Like I understand they
Yeah.
put him to the halfway point. It's possible. It's possible he got hired when the place was about to open up. Maybe that's what happened in
Yeah.
the original script, and then they pushed off later. I don't know what the reason was for that. It could have been because of studio exec interference. It could have been up
There is
because
a
of the
rumor, and
storylines.
this
Yeah.
is absolutely unsubstantiated. This is
Right.
kind of one of those urban myths about
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, that originally it was supposed to be Eddie Murphy, and because they didn't get Eddie Murphy because he was working on something else, they brought in Ernie Hudson, and then gave him a smaller role because he wasn't as big a draw.
It's possible it was behind that, and then Hudson's.
Honestly, though, I would argue my gut instinct though is it wasn't that. Look at the narrative in the story, right? It makes sense that it doesn't happen early in the movie. It makes sense it happens later as they start to get, busy.
True.
And it's like, we need another guy. We're getting overwhelmed
Because
now.
their
We're growing the
business is getting off the
Yeah,
ground. No, that makes
exactly.
sense. That makes sense. But I did want to go on to what he was saying. It wasn't an easy
Yeah.
road to continue. It was probably the most difficult movie ever done from a psychological perspective, and I'm still not trying to take it personally. If you're African American in this country, anything bad happens to you, you can always blame it on quote unquote because I'm black. You don't want to go there. That's the last thing I want to do. I got nothing bad to say about anybody, but it was hard. It took me 10 years to get past that, enjoy the movie, and just embrace the movie. Ghostbusters is really hard to make peace with. Ultimately, Ghostbusters continues to be a struggle for the actor, stamping an asterisk on his first success in the industry. When you start out in the business, I was always told it's almost impossible to succeed. But if you get a major movie from a major studio and it comes out and it opens number one, it will change your career. He said, well, Ghostbusters didn't do any of that for me. I was working pretty nonstop. I did Ghostbusters. It was 2.5 years before I got another movie. Hudson reprised the role several times for Ghostbusters 2 and Ghostbusters Afterlife. That's 2 times. That's not several times. He also had a brief cameo in 2016 reboot, and yet he feels treated like a quote-unquote add-on. Now, this seems like the person writing the article adding on to this. But he says, even now we're negotiating a new movie, and that's gearing up to start shooting March. I'm like, guys, I'm not an add-on, so I'm going to do it. It has to make sense. Yeah, I don't think anything Hudson is saying is wrong here. I think maybe the article might be trying to twist it.
Yeah, I agree. Because everything that he's talking about historically, 100% true. He really was, treated like an add-on and pushed aside. There are some posters out there that he doesn't even appear on. And that's like, even the fans, every fan looks at that and goes, the hell is this? In fact, they recently re-released the 13-bit 16-bit game, and he was left out of the original game.
He was, the Genesis game, which is an excellent Ghostbusters
So in the
game.
re-release, they added him, and let's face it, it's 16-bit. This isn't as bad as it sounds. They basically recolored, I think it was Ray, the Ray model, and they made him, and they changed him. I never played the game, but my understanding was each of the 3 characters had different stat values.
Like one could jump higher, but one was stronger, and the other was a mix of the 2. So I think like Ray was like the slower, but it was like different stats for each one, and it makes sense. It's like how the Gauntlet characters had different
and they
stats,
made the stats for the new Winston Zedmore like the perfect blend of all of them. And I was like, well, that makes perfect sense for his character, right?
Yeah, and to be fair, the original Genesis game, I suspect, and I was a little bummed Winston wasn't in it, but it was sort of a retelling of Ghostbusters anyway, and I had the feeling that, to be blunt, I think the reason Winston wasn't in it was so they had one less actor they had to pay the likeness for. I think that's what it was. I don't think it was because they were intentionally being prejudiced against the creators of the game. I think it was just because they were being cheap.
And if any of that,
they even had to pay for the Ghostbusters song for the game too, and that music costs money. Those music rights.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is your reading for this article?
Hmm.
Do you get the feeling that he's feeling that way about the current iteration with Ghostbusters
No,
Afterlife?
he is just
Okay.
saying that. I think what he's saying is, if you're going to have me in this movie, have me in there for a good reason. Just don't
Yeah.
throw me in there just to tack me on.
Yeah.
I
Because
don't want to be the
everything I'm
add-on.
seeing implies that the people working on this movie are absolutely behind him on that. This, let's face it,
Yes.
I think based on story, based on where it's going and where the fans expect it to go, he's the only one that we absolutely expect to continue on with this.
Do you know what?
If they don't bring back the other guys, it's fine.
But you need
They've
Ernie
done their
Hudson.
bit.
Do you know what I thought might be interesting too? What if Ernie Hudson? He's a big successful businessman now. He probably had a family of his own.
Yeah.
What if he had like a son? Like he had the siblings, and all of them are big successes. But like there's like a black sheep in his family, and he says, "Let me put him in charge of the new upcoming Ghostbusters franchise and see how he does to try and give his like the one wayward son something to do." And I don't know if you would
Interesting.
cast like Kevin Hart or somebody else in that role.
Interesting.
It might be interesting, don't you think? I don't know. I'm not saying that's what they'll do, but that might be something they could do with that, like kind of having a passing of the torch to, like, I guess Winston's kin. But I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But no, I understand Ernie Hudson and I want to say this.
Yeah.
I think I speak for all the fans. We always accepted him as one of the four Ghostbusters, not an add-on character. I think a lot of us thought he should have been on the posters too.
Absolutely.
And I think also it sounds like his the co-actors and the Ivan Reitman and everybody else, they also treated him with respect too. It might have been the brass over at Columbia at the time that were not treating him with proper respect, whether that was because of racial things or
Could have been
something else,
racial,
because he
yeah.
wasn't, because they didn't think he was as big an actor. That could have been another reason. I don't know. He's a good actor, always has been. You
Yeah.
can see him in Congo, which like I said, I'll be rewatching
Congo.
the Big Owl and Birdman in a couple of weeks. But yeah, just I wish Ernie Hudson all the best, and I do want to see him in the new movie. And he's not an add-on. We never thought you were an add-on. Yeah.
Something else I should probably also throw in. Having met him personally, he's
Oh, wow.
a hell of a nice guy in person.
He struck me as having a lot of class. That's what I always see from him. So,
he loves the fans. He
Yeah.
loves the fans.
Mhm.
I mean, he's got nothing negative to say when he's with the fans. I think he appreciates being appreciated.
Yeah. I think everybody loved Winston, and like I said, we want to see more Winston. So yeah.
Agreed. Absolutely. Okay.
All right, let's go to this next article.
Another one I got to break up. There we go.
It's the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
They're British.
Yeah, their titles are a whole paragraph.
Director blasts University for canceling his production of Waiting for Godot because he only auditioned men for male roles.
Imagine that.
So now they're going to do a production of the Vagina Monologues. I'm kidding.
I guess.
That's just a joke, because they would have to do all women, right?
I guess that would be just as boring.
Oh, you don't like Waiting for Godot? I've never
Have
seen
you
it.
ever read it or seen the play?
No, I haven't.
Dude, if you do, take a piece of rope to hang yourself with. That's
Is it
just,
that bad?
oh my God. You'll thank me later.
Well, this is an interesting story, because it kind of goes off what we were saying about in the beginning about Ian Fleming's works and Roald Dahl's works on Friday's stream, when you were talking about that. This is. Let me just read the article. A young director has slammed a Dutch university for shutting down his production of an all-male Samuel Beckett play after he only auditioned men for starring roles. Olsen Moyne, 24, from Donegal, Ireland, had planned to stage Waiting for Godot at the University of Groningen's USFA Student Cultural Center next month. The play, which was written in 1949, follows acquaintances Vladimir and Estragon as they wait for their mutual friend Godot to meet them. Over the course of 2 acts, Vladimir and Estragon are joined by 3 other male characters, which Samuel Beckett's estate specifically states can only be performed by men. Speaking to the Irish Times, Olsen, who graduated with a physics degree from the University of Groningen in 2020, described the past few weeks he had spent fighting the theater's decision to pull his play as utterly absurd. Although Olsen said he had considered auditioning actors of all genders, the director was constrained by the late Irish author's estates.
Yeah.
which owns the rights to his work until 2059. Before his death in 1989, the playwright tightened production contracts of his plays, which affect the casting and ban special effects being used. Although rehearsals had been underway since November, Oysen said that the institution had only recently taken issue with his production, violating their inclusion policy. The university press officer, Elias Cowenhoven, said Beckett explicitly stated that this play should be formed by 5 men. Moving forward, times have changed, and that the idea that only men are suitable for this role is outdated and even discriminatory. They ended their statement by highlighting the institution's open, exclusive community. However, Medea Anton, who was working as a producer, pointed out that the majority of the crew were female. She said, "We also have trans people, we have non binary individuals. The majority of the production is people from the LGBT community." I tried to explain to them that it is a legal thing and that we are a small amateur theater society and we cannot afford to be sued. But
Yeah.
nothing I could say during the meeting could change their minds. This isn't the first time a production of Samuel Beckett's plays has caused difficulty for directors. In 1991, a French judge allowed an all-female cast to stage one of Beckett's plays. However, they were told they needed to read a letter
Quick
of...
pause. Want to say goodnight to Matanui. He's got to go to bed.
All right.
Bedtime. So thanks so much for being here, Matanui. You made it most of the night, so super appreciate that.
Just want to say you could take some 5-hour energy next time and stay up for the whole stream. I'm joking.
I can say the same to you when you're going, I gotta work tomorrow.
No, have you ever had 5-hour energy? I took that when I was in grad school. It's no. It is evil. It is evil.
I did used to use. I suffer. Well, I suffer from apnea. It used to be a lot worse.
Okay.
And before I knew what it was, in order to keep going, I was taking a lot of 5-hour energy, and I would just shoot those things, boomity boom. And,
oh no.
Yeah, my heart would flutter, and I'm lucky I didn't stroke out.
It would mess with your head, wouldn't it? Did you like have it when you were trying to stay awake and like you were almost hearing voices and stuff?
Yes, and I get like the tunnel vision, and
it's not good.
Yeah, no.
And apparently it's all natural ingredients, but I don't know what they... Just stay away from it. It's not worth it. Get your sleep, guys, all right? Anyway, in 1991, a French judge allowed an all-female cast to stage one of Beckett's plays. However, they were told they needed to read a letter of object from the playwright's representative for each performance. 7 years later, Beckett's estate was able to stop a performance of Waiting for Godot at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, as it claimed the production in drag could bring ridicule to on the author. What?
Well, think about it. If you're playing male characters and it's women playing...
Oh, they would be doing it in drag.
They'd be doing it in drag.
I thought it was men dressing as... Okay, never mind. Okay. Most recently, a 2019...
And let's face it, it looks ridiculous, you know?
Most recently,
I know that people want to believe these days that there is no difference between men and women. There's a friggin' difference between men and women, okay?
Most recently, a 2019 college in Ohio reportedly canceled their all-female version of the play over fears of a lawsuit from Beckett's estate. Waiting for Godot is one of Samuel Beckett's most popular plays, and in a 2009 production at the Theatre Royal Haymarket starred Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
Okay, so...
I almost used that picture in the thumbnail, but then I was like, nah.
Don't. You might get sued.
No, I didn't think we'd get sued. I didn't think it was a good representation of the theme for the article. That's why I used one of the classic covers from the play.
Right. Here's the issue, okay? This is interesting. So, Samuel Beckett set up something with his estate to make sure that this play cannot be acted by... It has to be male actors. Now, to be fair, I don't think he has restrictions on race of the actors or sexuality or anything like that. It just has to be an all-male cast. Okay.
Sure.
There's
no reason to address sexuality since there's nothing in the play that indicates sexuality. Therefore, that part of it is absolutely irrelevant.
Yeah.
But the characters are male.
Yes.
They are written as male.
Yes.
Don't you dare as an actor come to me and tell me only a gay person can play a gay character and then come and say, but anyone should be able to play a male character.
This is insanity. This is, let's be blunt. I think this is more man bashing. I think that's what this boils down
Absolutely.
to.
It's okay to discriminate against one group and not another.
Because, like, I made the joke about the vagina monologues. I mean, I wouldn't expect male leads in the vagina monologues. Okay,
Right.
so or other plays that might feature an all-female cast. You can have all-female cast. You can have mixed cast. You can do plays of anything. There's a ton of plays you can do, and I guess you just don't do the play now. But again,
Yeah.
this is
Or
insanity.
you could do what has happened in the business world forever. You waste everybody's time with all the auditions and then only select male actors. And say, I just thought they were the best. Sorry.
Yeah, but
I personally, as an actor, would rather not waste my time going to auditions that I'm never going to get the role for.
it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. These were the parameters set up by the estate. This is what the author had envisioned it.
Which
And
is
we're-
ironic because you shouldn't even have to frickin' specify that. The
No.
characters are male. I shouldn't have to tell you only cast males to play these male roles.
We're living in a time where there's no real respect for the author's original words. Like I said, Ian Fleming is being targeted next. I don't know who's going to get targeted next after him, and it just
Yeah,
won't stop.
maybe
this
next
this is an avalanche. And
Maybe
it's-
next week we'll talk some more about that Ian Fleming stuff. I haven't
Yeah.
even had a chance to look at it.
I'm going to
Before
see if
you
there's
want to
more
hear me go
articles.
off on it, I just dropped the link to last Friday's stream. I
Well,
I have
rolled out,
plenty
yeah.
to say about that.
Rolled out, yeah. And you can see deleted scenes of myself on that stream as well. But yeah, this is just ridiculous. And he's even saying, "Listen, I would have considered it, but it's like these are the rules set up by the estate," and they're yelling at him, and it's just, what's the big deal? And he even said, "I've employed plenty of women in the production of it. It's just that not in the role because that was the
Specificity.
of the play."
There you go.
It's like a raisin in the sun. There are parts in that play that are to be played by women and parts that are to be played by men. In fact, in this case, it's black men and black women. Okay, so I wouldn't expect. Yeah, go ahead.
I would love for somebody to do a production of Othello and cast a white character just to say, I wanted to be inclusive. Can't always have Othello as a black guy.
Look, there are some plays where the parts have to be played by certain. Just never mind.
You're preaching to the choir here. You're absolutely right. This is a friggin' clown world that we live in that we even have to say these things.
Yeah. All right. Time
Speaking
to
of
move.
clown world, this is a brilliant idea, but oh my god, how crazy!
What one? What idea?
Eli Roth horror thriller, Thanksgiving.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I saw this article, and it's an article about the making of the movie, and I just realized that this is actually happening.
Yeah.
Addison,
This is or it was originally one of those Grindhouse
fake trailers.
fake trailers from the movie Grindhouse, right?
Did you ever see
Quentin
Grindhouse? Did you
I
ever see
did,
Grindhouse?
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, that might be a good old day someday. Maybe we have more news on this. We'll talk about Grindhouse.
And then they broke it up into two movies, right?
No, they didn't. That
Or
was
was
why
it the other way
failed.
around?
No, here's what in Europe they did actually.
Oh, okay.
Here's what happened with Grindhouse. It was supposed to be, we're going to recreate the Grindhouse experience of you going into a movie theater, a Grindhouse, which was like
seeing a double feature.
It's like a city version. Like in cities, they can't have drive-ins, so they would have grindhouses. It's like a city version of a drive-in, and you would get like you got the two movies, Planet Terror and Death Proof. One was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and the other was directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
And then you got fake trailers for other movies, which I thought might be future Grindhouse movies that would eventually be made.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Grindhouse bombed at the box. It didn't do well at the box office, and people theorized the theory at the time was it separated the hardcore moviegoer from the casual moviegoer because people saw, I don't want to watch two movies in a row, even though they were short movies. They were like 80 minutes each. It's like a three hour production.
Do you think that's true?
I do. It wasn't the quality. It wasn't because there was lack of advertising. I think it's just the casual moviegoer. I think had they released them as separate films, they would have done a lot better. And when they eventually got released on DVD, they were released in a separate separate discs that were like the extended editions of the movies, so you could see more footage added.
Interesting. Okay.
But anyway, so and you could still catch the original features.
This is not the first movie that was done as a fake trailer and ended up becoming a movie, because
Machete was made. In fact, Robert Rodriguez said at the time, "Listen, I'm going to finish it because I already shot half the footage for it because they were planning to do more."
That makes sense. Yeah.
Edgar Wright did Don't, which I hope. Hey, Edgar Wright, make Don't now, and Rob Zombie did Werewolf Women of the SS, which was ridiculous, and you had Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu at the end of the trailer. Right. And I'm like, yes. And I'd love to see these movies get made. But Thanksgiving was funny because Thanksgiving was like a late 70s, early 80s slasher movie in really bad taste. And I guess the theme, of course, is that it's a Thanksgiving-themed slasher movie. And it's a guy walking around dressed as a pilgrim, and he chops off the head of the guy dressed as the turkey in the Thanksgiving Day parade.
And, of course, the body continues moving around like a turkey would. I don't know if you caught that.
I didn't, but now that makes sense.
Yes.
And it was funny because some of the same actors in the Grindhouse movie were in the trailer. So, like the guy that played the sheriff in Planet Terror, Michael Biehn, I think his name was, the guy from Aliens. He was also in the trailer for this movie playing the sheriff again. And it's like, and the one guy, he puts his finger on it and tastes it and says, "It's blood.
It's blood."
Goes,
I was like, oh my God.
So bad. And now they're actually doing it.
But I'm telling you, here's my thing though. Now they're actually making this movie.
Yes.
If these scenes aren't actually in the movie, I'm going to be pissed.
I don't.
What?
Yeah, can they be though? Because unfortunately they're filming it 16 years later.
Well, you don't have to have the same actors, but you can recreate the
yes,
scenes.
I agree. They should recreate a lot of those scenes with the new actors, yeah. It's a pity he didn't get to do them with the original actors, though. In fact, I want to say...
I'll tell you what, though. Of all the scenes in it, I see absolutely no reason why they wouldn't, with one exception. You know which?
One.
The cheerleader. I don't see them doing that these days. But it is Tarantino, right? So
no,
maybe...
it's Eli Roth. Who's in that same camp as Tarantino. In fact, he was even in a couple of Tarantino movies.
Well, we'll see then. We'll see.
Eli Roth gets away with a lot in his movies, so we'll see. He what was the last movie Eli Roth did that was pretty? He did Green Inferno, which I have not yet to watch because, frankly, cannibalism movies terrify me. But anyway,
I can understand that. Yeah.
Let me read this article though. Addison Rae.
You know what I should do? I should drop the link to that trailer. It's a fake trailer. This is not a trailer for the actual movie. This is the trailer that came from Grindhouse. But
yeah.
It's definitely worth checking out just for the context of what we're talking about. If nothing else, so you can see what I'm talking about when I say the cheerleader scene.
Lead Scenes makes a point. Hobo with a Shotgun was a fake trailer before it was an actual movie. Hobo with a Shotgun, I think, was put in the Canadian release of the Grindhouse movie. It was another fake trailer. They did a contest, make your own fake Grindhouse trailer, and I think in some showings they would add Hobo with a Shotgun fake trailer into the Grindhouse movie, and this actually was made into a feature as well. So that was also a pretty fun movie. Except instead of being based on sleazy 70s movies, it was based on sleazy 80s movies like Death Wish. It was inspired by that. But this is the Grindhouse trailer if you want to check it out.
And speaking of deleted scenes, maybe you should share the picture that I just brought.
There you go. There's deleted scenes. He had a stream earlier.
And he's wearing a Pulp Fiction t-shirt, so...
let me get rid of this, so you can see his Pulp Fiction t-shirt.
So by all means...
I said I want that t-shirt. That's a good t-shirt. Yeah,
so by all means, make sure that you're subscribed to Deleted Scenes, and go check out his unboxing that was on just before we went live.
He's got some 4K Blu-rays there. Yeah, like I said, I did an unboxing myself this week. Of course, not on my channel. I should probably do unboxings on my channel if I ever get around. If I ever get the equipment for it. Okay.
Actually, somebody recommended from my last Friday stream. Kyle Cullen, who's a regular in the chat and commenter, he saw the Ghostbusters Mego figures behind me. Said he'd love to see a video on that, so I just might end up doing that.
I'll have to think about that myself.
Yeah.
Let me just read this article real quick, though. Addison Rae, one of the biggest names in social media, has joined the cast of Eli Roth's horror movie Thanksgiving. Spyglass is behind the slasher, which is based on the fake trailer that Roth made 16 years ago for the Quentin Tarantino Rodriguez double bill Grindhouse. Production is due to commence in Toronto in March. Plot details are on the thin side, although it concerns a slasher who comes to a small Massachusetts town with the intention of creating a Thanksgiving carving board out of the town's inhabitants, per sources. Character details for Ray's role are being kept stuffed in the turkey. Oh, very funny. Patrick Dempsey of Grey's Anatomy fame is among those in talks to join the cast. Maybe he'll be taking on the Michael Biehn sheriff role. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is said to be looking to cast numerous up and comers. Roth is directing and producing with Electromagnetic Productions, Roger Birnbaum. Ray is a massive star on TikTok with more than 88.9 million followers. She has also been named its highest earner per Forbes. She has parlayed that into a singing career and an acting career. For the latter, she has made her feature debut with He's All That, a gender swap remake of 1999's She's All That.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know about that. But she is rep by WME, Ocean Avenue, and Nixon Peabody. Why do I think we talked about He's All That on the stream at one point? Anyway, I do want to say this though. There is something clever about taking one of the biggest TikTokers and putting her in your slasher movie. Do you know why that's clever? It's free advertising.
Oh,
she'll be talking about it on her channel all the time.
And if she's got a big following, yeah.
And even if it's just a big role for being cheerleader number 3 getting killed, that'll still get her followers to go see her movie. Think about it. That's actually pretty smart. I didn't think
honestly,
about that.
I know this is a tiny version of that, but there's a YouTube channel that one of the 4 guys on the channel was an extra in Avatar, and that's the only reason Netter and I ever saw Avatar.
Yeah. Well,
and he doesn't. I don't think he even has a speaking role in it.
Well, he was one of the evil redneck guys in the background sitting down? Well,
he was one of the soldier guys.
Yeah. They one of them had a beer can in his hand while listening to the orders to go kill the blue people or something.
Right.
All right, so I guess that wraps it up for this week, though. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. That'll probably not be... Actually, who knows? Eli Roth could have it out by Thanksgiving if he gets the shooting done in enough time.
Yeah,
depends. I didn't think about that. I don't know if they're planning to release it this Thanksgiving, next Thanksgiving. I definitely want to see this movie because it looks in horribly bad taste, and as a lot of those slasher movies were, and just there's some horrendous ones. What Sleepaway Camp is a horrendously bad taste slasher movie if you want to watch one.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, especially
that's. There's no rewatchability on that one. If you've seen it, you don't want to see it again.
What's funny about Sleepaway Camp, though, is I come from the Northeast, like the New York, New Jersey area, and all the kids in that's how people acted up there during that time. That everyone is so horribly obnoxious and yelling at each other all the time. Like, this is so accurate to that part of the country.
So I guess at least in that regard, they get that pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
So. Good.
All right, so let's do coming up. I have a little chart here. Look at this. So Monday there will be no Batman show at Soundcheck Suburban. He's taking the week off.
Oh,
he's bushed, but he will.
Oh,
be back.
So that means no Wednesday either.
No, that'll be the week after next week. Will be the Congo stream. Okay, that'll be
okay.
3/8. Yeah.
Well, I dropped the link for for Birdman. Just go subscribe to him.
Not this Tuesday because he changed the day, but Mr. Matchstick will be having his if they were recreating the Gundam UC timeline. That'll be on March 7th.
Okay. So let me go ahead and because I do have Mr. Matchstick, so we'll go ahead and drop that.
Friday.
So no Congo this week.
No, but Friday there's a movie. There's Films with Friends, Hawk the Slayer. 1980 with Leave the Scenes on Al's channel.
Big Al was nice enough that he is doing this early enough. This is going to be 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. So that should be finishing up in plenty of time for you to get to another stream Although the link hasn't been dropped, I will be in the chat over on
Special pub crawl evening with
yes, it's going to be a special. So Arrow and Avalon is going to be starting out over on VacTube's channel. The stream hasn't been published yet, but as soon as it is, I will drop the link on my community tab. So you know, if you're watching Hawk the Slayer with Big Al and deleted scenes, then jump over to VacTube's channel, say hi, you know, hang out with them until my stream starts, and this, you know, we're treating this like a virtual pub crawl, and then after we front load it over there, then you can come on over to my stream.
Dude, are you going to be drinking on all these streams?
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, it's going to be a thing. And,
what's the topic for your stream going to be? Or is this going to be anything goes?
It's going to be anything goes. It's going to be just like a night out at a pub crawl with friends. Talking about anything that comes up in our drunken rantings. Well, that'll be next Friday, which leads us to Saturday over on Netters Network, and I dropped it without even dropping the name, but we will be watching the movie Cellular with
Kim Basinger.
Kim Basinger, and I'm trying to remember
Jason Statham.
That's
there. You go.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I'm up on things.
You know your stuff. You're better than
I don't think I've ever seen that movie though. It was one I always meant to watch though. But.
Oh, it's a good one. There's some great clips out there to check out. The idea is that Kim Basinger is like the damsel in distress, and she's not able to. I don't remember what the setup is, but she makes a call on her phone. She picks up someone at random on a cell phone, and it's Chris Evans, and he's trying to help her, but he doesn't want to hang up because he'll lose her, and she doesn't know where she's being held and so forth. So he's driving around, and at one point he goes into a tunnel, or he's about to go into a tunnel, so he stops and he backs up because, you know, it's a problem. And then I don't know if they're playing fast and loose with the technology, but he's driving past somebody, and their cell phones kind of cross over, and it's really, really good. I don't.
Sounds like a thriller.
It is a thriller. It absolutely is. Okay. Good stuff. So that'll be on Netters Network, and as usual, I will be hosting it on Cosme if you don't have your own copy. But I would encourage you to get this one. This one's a good one if you're into those kinds of films. Yeah.
And Sunday, that brings us back to Geeky Geezers, which we'll probably do the James Bond story next week. I'm telling you, if this is really going through, just stop buying anything James Bond related until they set this right, because I'm done. I've already heard. I've not talked about the next James Bond movie because information is scant, except for the fact that they want to drastically reinvent the character. And I was thinking at the time, is this going to be Ian Fleming's James Bond when I was reading that, or is it going to be your own Bond creation? But now it seems like they're just trying to erase Ian Fleming's Bond from Ian Fleming's actual books. So we'll get into it. I'll send you the Variety article. That's the one we're going to use for next week.
Real quick, I'm one more time dropping Netters Network's link. She's asking that everyone please, even if you are already subscribed, just stop by and double check and make sure.
Double check and watch a video for like 5 minutes. You know,
she's very she's right at 200, and she doesn't want to slip below that. And you know how YouTube is, so just go and make sure that you're subscribed.
Yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed.
Make sure you get presents on Thursday if I stay above 200.
Yeah.
Ooh, presents.
Yeah, if she stays above 200, she's going to have a live stream to give away some nifty little gifts.
Everybody likes presents.
Yeah.
Unless it's fruitcake.
You know, if I'm the one making the fruitcake, though, you might actually really enjoy it.
Okay. All right, y'all.
Have I never sent you a fruitcake for
You
the
have
holidays?
not. You have not.
I will do so this year.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Y'all have a good week. Stay tuned on all the channels, and you never know, people may be popping up with stuff anyway. And glad I have physical copies of the Inflame books. Yeah, we'll talk about it more next week. Yeah. You know what? You can always buy stuff used. Catch you later, guys.
Take care, buddy.